NASCAR and the Winston Cup Division here at Bristol International Raceway for the Valleydale 500 on this Sunday afternoon, and the cars have already been given the command to start engines. They're warming them up along pit road before moving out for a couple of warm-up laps. Here now is the starting lineup for today's Valleydale Meets 500. Starting from the pole position for the second time in a row, he was also pole sitter at Darlington. Mark Martin in the number 6 Strolite Ford. He's from Batesville, Arkansas, alongside Jeff Bodine from Chemung, New York, and the Levi Garrett Chevrolet, car number 5. Going to row number 2, it's Alan Kowicki from Greenfield, Wisconsin, in the Xerox Ford, car number 7. On the outside of row number 2, from Bartow, Florida, will be Rick Wilson driving the Kodak Oldsmobile. The car number is 4. In row number 3, it'll be Dale Earnhardt from Kannapolis, North Carolina, in the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, car number 3. His last win was the Busch 500 in August of '88. And Phil Parsons then in the number 55 Crown Oldsmobile, Phil from Detroit, Michigan. Going to row number 4, it's Michael Waltrip driving the number 30 Country Time Pontiac. Michael hails from Owensboro, Kentucky. Outside of row number 4 will be St. Louis, Missouri's Rusty Wallace driving car number 27, the Kodiak Pontiac. He was the pole winner at Rockingham earlier this year. Then Butch Miller in car number 55 has an excellent starting position, 9th. Alongside will be Morgan Shepherd. In the 6th row, it'll be Harry Gant and Eddie Bierschwale. In row number 7, it's Darrell Waltrip and Sterling Marlin. The 8th row, Rick Mast and Bill Elliott. Going to row number 9, Ken Schrader in 25 and Ricky Rudd in 26. Terry Labonte in number 11 and Dale Jarrett in number 29 in row number 10 as the cars begin to move out. It's Greg Sachs and Bobby Hillen Jr. in row 11. The 12th row has Jim Sauter and Brett Bodine. The 13th row, Ernie Irvin in car number 2 and Hut Strickland in 57. Dick Trickle and Brad Teague will start side by side in row number 14. The 15th row has Neil Bonnet, car 21, and Lake Speed in number 83. And then Davey Allison in car number 28 and Larry Pearson in 16. Those were our 2 provisional starters. Now, taking a look specifically at this racetrack, it's a .533 mile oval. The banking is at 36 degrees. The pole lap time was 15.953 seconds at a speed of 120.278 miles an hour. And we will go 500 times around this racetrack this afternoon. Our crew cam today is being worn by Horace Simpson, who is the tire carrier on the Dale Earnhardt crew. They are, of course, the number 1 pit crew in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. And last week was also on David Smith from the team. This week it's on Horace Simpson as he will provide the pictures from our crew cam. Now we have a couple of in-car cameras that will be with us throughout the event. Brett Bodine carries one in the Motorcraft Bud Moore prepared car number 15. There you can see his view as he is lined up and taking in some practice laps before getting the green flag. And our other in-car camera today is being carried by Michael Waltrip. And look at the head restraint that Michael is using on that car. The neck takes a tremendous pounding, as Benny Parsons told you. And that's one of the ways the drivers will try to prevent some fatigue. Let's go down for a report on tires to Jerry Punch.
Bob, again, a lot of concern about tire wear here with the rain for the past 2 days. Any rubber that was on the new asphalt has been washed away. So a green racetrack and a lot of concern that tire temperatures may soar 300 or 325 degrees. And in that vein, NASCAR will allow a mandatory yellow flag at lap 40. It will allow all the cars to come down pit road and change tires and take a look and see what the tire temperatures and tire wear is. Now, if there's a yellow flag around lap 10 or 15, then they will go back to green and run 40 consecutive green flag laps before bringing them back in for that mandatory yellow flag.
There is hardly enough room in a very spacious area behind the pit wall for all those tires that the crews are going to be using. And we'll tell you that 19 of the starters will be going on Goodyears and 13 will be on Hoosiers.
And those tires at $175 a piece, Bob. There's a lot of money laying on pit road down there, and they will use most of those tires, Gary.
Boy, that's something else, the way these tires, they go through these tires these days. You know, as the cars are warming up their engines right now, look, they got to think about the oil temperature also, because the cars really haven't had much warm-up time in the garage area, sat out on the line. Now they really got to watch the temperature to make sure everything's up with this high-speed bank turn coming up right away.
There you can see so far in the tire wars this year, Goodyear has 3 wins and Hoosier has 2 wins. A very cool day here They had predicted sunshine. However, the cloudy skies are with us once again, and the temperature very, very cool, and there is a pretty good breeze also. So the thousands and thousands of spectators that have turned out here today may get a little uncomfortable during the race, but hopefully the race action will carry it.
But it'll be comfortable for the driver, Bob. The fact that it is cooler, the cars will still get very hot inside as a result of the exhaust heat that comes up inside of the car.
Ricky Rudd will be starting last in this race. Now, he had a crash yesterday in practice just after Rusty Wallace did, and he is going to his backup car. So the number 26 Quaker State car that is being driven by Ricky Rudd will start scratch on the field.
So he has even more of an unknown than the other drivers in the field because this car has not been on the racetrack under competition.
All right, here comes the pace car down off the banking in turn number 3, and we're racing on what essentially is a brand new racetrack for these competitors, Bristol International Raceway, and a complete new paving job. The track record broken by 3 miles an hour by Mark Martin. The green flag is out. Here we go. You can bet that some of the drivers are going to be very cautious here in the opening laps because they just don't know what to expect on this racetrack. It's basically single file formation here in the first couple of laps, with Mark Martin leading Alan Kulwicki, Jeff Bodine, Rick Wilson, Dale Earnhardt, Michael Waltrip, Phil Parsons, and Rusty Wallace. One driver that has gotten out of line back in the field is Eddie Beerswald, and Bill Elliott about to pass him now. Dale Jarrett comes up on the inside of him. Eddie had a good qualifying run starting at 12th place, but he's dropping back in a hurry on the outside. He's got on that high groove. He's got caught up there in that high groove and is having difficulty maneuvering the car back down. As you can see, Dale Jarrett in the number 29 car is passing him at the moment as they go into turn number 3. And here comes the number 11 car of Terry Labonte. Up front, meanwhile, it's Mark Martin, the number 6 car, followed by Kulwicki. And there is the in-car camera that we have in Michael Waltrip's car. And you can see that he is running in the top 6. He is 6th position right now. That's Dale Earnhardt just ahead of him and Rick Wilson ahead of Earnhardt.
You saw Mike Waltrip go under the start-finish line just now. He's going to travel a half mile. He's going to be back at the start-finish line in less than 17 seconds. This is a very fast track today.
Brace that we talked about earlier that Michael Waltrip has in his car, you will see his head move to that side of the race car. Maybe not so much at the moment, but certainly when the race settles down a bit and he begins to tire, he'll certainly make use of that head brace. Yeah, he'll sort of lean his head over against it as his neck begins to get tired, probably after a couple hundred laps.
But that's a good shot from the inside of Mike Waltrip's car. You can see him. He's not really fighting the car yet, but he still has a lot of body motion. Turning the steering wheel over a half a turn into the turn, back straight on the straightaway, bouncing around. Even though there's new pavement, it still throws the driver around inside the car quite a bit. You can see his knee moving there.
The number 83 car, we understand, maybe black flag. That's Lake Speed in car number 83. He has been black flagged, and he is pitting, coming in for the mandatory stop. His pit's located on the back stretch. There are several here in the front stretch, but Lake Speed and others are pitted on the back stretch. Looks like they're checking the left side of that car.
Well, they're looking underneath it, Bob. Apparently there was a report that there was some grease or oil coming from it, and sometimes that, especially on short tracks, would be coming from the rear gearing, and that's what they're checking for right now.
Still single file formation for the most part. We have not seen a whole lot of passing here in the first 11 laps. It is still the pole sitter, Mark Martin, in car number 6, showing the way. Following him is Alan Kulwicki, then Jeff Bodine and Rick Wilson. Harry Gant in car number 33. There you can see him coming off of that win at Darlington just last weekend. Ahead of Harry in the number 51 car is Butch Miller, as Rick Wilson there, the yellow number 4, is about to make a move on the 3rd place Jeff Bodine. They come through corner number 4. They're side by side. They touch coming off the corner. Who's going to win the race to turn number 1? Jeff Bodine hanging on to that 3rd spot, but nope, here comes Rick Wilson to take it over. And Dale Earnhardt in the black number 3 now looks for an opportunity to pass Jeff Bodine. And all of this from Michael Waltrip's perspective.
Well, he's got a good seat there watching those two cars, but Earnhardt could not make the move. Earnhardt's car wiggling a little bit. Of course, again, that's not that unusual on the short track, but he'll try to measure Jeff Bodine there in a few laps and see if he can make the same move Rick Wilson did.
You can see the back of Dale's car as it goes into the turn. It sticks out a little. It's loose going in right there. See it jump out? The car's a little loose going into the corner for Dale. That's why he couldn't quite get under Jeff when he tried.
Dale Earnhardt running in 5th position, and Michael Waltrip in the Country Time car is in 6th spot. 16 laps have been completed now, and it's been all green so far as the drivers are being very cautious at the moment on the new pavement. There is the leader, Mark Martin, followed by Alan Kulwicki and Rick Wilson. So we'll take a look at the top 10 with 15 laps completed in the Valleydale 500, and we'll be back right after this. Back at Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee for the Valleydale 500 Winston Cup race. It is still Mark Martin in car number 6 leading the race, with Alan Kulwicki running second, and then Rick Wilson, who took over 3rd position a few laps ago from Jeff Bodine. Now let's go to Jerry Punch, who has a story on the Rick Wilson run.
Well, no surprise at all. Rick Wilson is running as well. Spin as Earnhardt is spent. No surprise at all, Rick Wilson running this well here. He's the man who has more laps on this new asphalt than anybody else. He did the tire testing here for Hoosier. He came here twice, primarily because their shop is only about 15 miles away down the road here in Abington, Virginia. So Rick Wilson has a lot of experience on this new asphalt. Just showing up here. Also, the Hoosier tires working well for Rick Wilson, as Wilson has Hoosiers, as does Jeff Bodine. The front two cars of Martin and Kulwicki are both on Goodyear.
Well, there was a near spin, Jerry, going out of in turn number 1. Look how high Dale Earnhardt gets up on the racetrack and nearly loses it, but does a nice job of saving it.
Yes, he does do a nice job, and Gary Nelson pointed out that the car is a little bit loose going into the turn. I think he went in there just a little too hard, and the back end went around. Well, we saw Lake Speed come into the pits a little while ago before our caution, and they learned that they had a power steering line that came loose. They tightened it up, and he's back in the race, but he lost 7 laps.
There's Rick Wilson in 3rd position. Rick Wilson won the pole position for the Busch Grand National race that was scheduled for yesterday, but rained out. It was originally rescheduled for 10 o'clock, then 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now it's been rescheduled to 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon for those of you who would like to come out to Bristol and watch that Busch Grand National race. Now we go back into the pack and find some action here involving Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, the number 75 car driven by Morgan Shepherd, the 94 car of Sterling Marlin also there, and Marlin tries to take over the position going into turn number 3, and he does it. And here comes Harry Gant right behind him, trying to take over the position from the 75 car driven by Morgan Shepherd.
Well, it looks like a lot of the cars are having that loose problem. The back end just isn't sticking as good as they would like it to in the turns. You can see Neil Bonnett's car. You see some sparks coming out from under it as it drags through the turn.
Rusty Wallace just lost the position to the Sterling Marlin car, so Rusty is not having a real good run here in the early going. Of course, his inner ear infection yesterday causing some problems, and you heard him tell Jerry Punch earlier that he hopes he can go the distance. Now we're following the number 33 car of Harry Gant as he tries to pull off 2 victories in a row. And look at Sterling Marlin there in number 94 as he is continuing to move up through the field, now passing Dale Earnhardt on the high side of the racetrack in turn 3.
You know, he's running very good. The car is handling well. He get by Harry Gant. Once he did, he picked those other cars off in a hurry.
Yeah, that outside groove, that's no man's land in the early stages of the race here, but Sterling Marlin sure made it work for him.
There's Harry Gant closing in on Morgan Shepherd. And our dynamic duo that we talked about in the open of the show, Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace, are running nose to tail out there, while the action in back of them involves Morgan Shepherd and Harry Gant and Rick Mast, who is moving up in the number 66 car. The lead continues to be held by Mark Martin as he begins to lap now some of the slower traffic. Oh, Mark gets very loose up in turn number 4 as he was trying to position himself to put a lap on the 57 car of Hut Strickland. Now he and Hut touch as they go into turn number 1, and Strickland is not really willing to give up that position and be lapped. So Mark Martin having difficulty getting around him and nearly spun up in turn 4 the last time.
That mandatory pit stop or the caution flag is coming up before too long in about 5 laps, and certainly everyone wants to stay in the lead lap if they possibly can.
So while we wait for that mandatory caution period, we'll take another break. Oh, we have a car in turn number 4. It's Ken Schrader who has pounded the wall in turn number 4. He gets the car completely off the racetrack down on the apron. Our first caution of the day comes out, however, and it comes out just before the mandatory caution, so there will be no mandatory caution for tire checks. That will occur right now as Ken Schrader has damaged severely the right front of that race car.
His car was very loose, Bob. He was going backwards, really. He started in 17th position, but had dropped back to 24th position and was having a hard time holding the car in the turns, and you can see the damage as a result of the spin getting into the wall.
And here comes nearly everybody in for a tire check here on the front stretch. Dale Earnhardt pulling into position, so is Rusty Wallace, and our crew cam now goes to work. Horace Simpson carrying it. He's the tire carrier for the Earnhardt team. You can see him doing his job on the right side of the car and then coming back over the wall.
Well, you know, that almost looked like speeded up action the way Horace was running, but that was real time.
You can see the assistance that he lends to those who change the tires, getting the used ones on the other side of the wall. Kirk Shelmerdine stumbling there as he tried to get back across the wall. This Dale move back out onto the racetrack. So pit stops have been made here with 37 laps completed in the 500 lap Valleydale meets 500. And Alan Kulwicki will have the lead of the race as he was able to get out in front of Mark Martin.
Well, I think the car number 2 of Ernie Irvan is the actual leader of the race. He was pitting on the backstretch. Here's the spin by Ken Schrader after he'd gotten into the wall and down across the track out of the way of the oncoming traffic.
Damaged the car quite a bit. This is from our speed shot located just under the starter stand. There you can see him lose control, and
boy, he slams into the wall hard with the right front of the car. He just shot up there and back down across the racetrack. He was very fortunate that other cars didn't hit him.
So Ken Schrader is in the pit area as the crew goes to work on that car, trying to get it back into the race. We'll be back with more of this Valleydale 500 after this. Back at Bristol, where Brett Bodine has just made a stop and go penalty. Apparently he was black flagged by NASCAR, but now you can see he has been given the go signal and he pulls back onto the racetrack. So Brett Bodine is penalized, or at least stopped for a black flag violation, but goes back in competition. Now let's go down to Benny Parsons, who can tell us about the work on the Kenny Schrader car. Benny?
Well, Bob, I'm going to let Ken Schrader yourself tell you what happened. Ken, we saw you hit the wall hard up in turn 4. What happened?
Benny, we started the race, you know, and we went junk quick, and thing got real loose, and I just got it loose up there, and then somebody went by and hit me a little bit in the left front, and they just turned it in the wall. I mean, it wasn't their fault. We were just off that much.
You know, you had a hard hit in Darlington, and then Monday practiced in North Wilkesboro, backed in the wall, so this is 3 within a week. How's the old neck surviving this?
It ain't been a real smooth week. The old body's starting to get a little bit sore, but we'll be okay. We just, you know, we just got to get whatever our problem is straightened out before we run out of race cars.
Okay, Jerry Punch is on pit road with another story.
While checking the tire wear after that first mandatory caution flag, the Goodyear tires looked fine, and so did most of the Hoosiers, with the exception of this tire that came off of Rick Wilson's car. The right front tire, apparently he may have cut something, according to the Hoosier engineers, and some of the rubber beginning to peel away. But the Hoosiers running very, very well. The temperature was not that high, neither was the Goodyear. In fact, some of the crews are so excited about the way the Hoosiers are running, we are told now that Rusty Wallace is now on Hoosier tires. Gentlemen?
All right, so we'll watch during the afternoon various crews changing tire brands as the afternoon goes along. By the way, the number 15 car, the Brett Bodine car, was penalized for exiting the pits above the line that we have seen a couple of times this year in Winston Cup racing. There you can see 29 of the 30 cars still on the lead lap, and Ernie Irvan in car number 2 is going to be the leader.
Yes, he made a pit stop on the backstretch, made a good pit stop, got out before the caution car got around, and that is one of the advantages of pitting on the backstretch. If you can jump in before the front running cars do and make your pit stop and get back out there, and that's exactly what Ernie Irvan did. He probably only changed the right side tires, but still, he's up front. He's already picked up 5 bonus Winston Cup points for leading this race.
Well, that's a good move for him. Even if he does fall back, he's leading under caution. He'll probably lead under the first green lap. That's a real good move for a rookie team and team pitting on a backstretch to get in and get out and get up front.
And that is the first time this season that Irvin has led a lap. There are several well-known drivers that have not done so. There you can see the new press box and the broadcast facilities here at Bristol. Not only did they repave the racetrack and put a lot of money into the racetrack itself, but they have built new grandstands. And there you can see our broadcast booth as we are perched high above the racetrack and an excellent view of this facility. Larry Carrier, the owner of this track, certainly does put a tremendous amount of money back into this facility, making it very, very exciting and a good place to watch a race from the spectator's point of view. Now the green flag has come out once again, and Ernie Irvin has the lead. And there you can see Alan Kowicki in car number 7 and the 57 car of Hut Strickland.
Of course, Hut was 1 lap down. He was the only car that got lapped on the racetrack before that caution came out. It was just a lap before the caution came out. That's good for him.
Boy, Ernie was ready for that restart, wasn't he? Look at the jump he got on Alan Kowicki.
He has 6, 8, 10 car length advantage on Alan Kowicki now, but Kowicki beginning to move in just a little bit. Ernie Irvin, the leader of the Valleydale 500 with the Kroger sponsorship on that car.
He was a Rookie of the Year contender last year, finished 2nd in that type of competition, and having a glory day here at Bristol out in front of the pack.
Well, that team's been getting better and better all year. I've kind of watched Ernie run, and he's gaining, I think every race he's moving up a little bit farther into the pack. And all of a sudden now here at Bristol, he's leading under green with really, it looks like it's easy, but I'm sure he's working pretty hard at it.
There's the Motorcraft in-car camera being carried by Brett Bodine.
He is way back in the pack. Got a lot of catching up to do as a result of that penalty, and he's trying to make his way around some of those cars because he knows the leaders will be coming up on him in a hurry.
There's a 51 car of Butch Miller ahead of him. Here is Dale Jarrett in car number 29, Rusty Wallace in 27, and Harry Gant in number 33.
Well,
ninth position there.
What's happened is a lot of these teams have made their chassis adjustments. A lot of them were talking about being loose. We could see some of the cars wiggling around. Now they've made their first adjustments. They're trying to sort that out. And then some of the teams got up ahead of them in traffic. So it's pretty tough for a team like, say, Rusty Wallace here and Harry Gant. They're trying to race each other, but also trying to feel their cars out so they can make improvements on the next few pit stops.
Rusty Wallace, as Jerry Punch reported, did put on Hoosier tires during that pit stop, and they seem to be working well for him, although he has not been able to get around Jared. He's working on it.
And there is Darrell Waltrip in car number 17, our joker who had hoped to spoil the plans of the dynamic duo. And one Batman character that we did not mention in the open of the show, the Riddler, and there are certainly many crew members with question marks on their minds as to how things are going to go here. Here's Rusty Wallace now making the move on Dale Jarrett coming off of corner number 4, but Rusty having a tough time taking away the position. They're side by side into turn 1, and now Rusty takes away the spot, and here comes Harry Gant right behind in number 33.
Now that Dale's caught on the outside, they're going to go by him like a freight train. Here comes Darrell Waltrip. He'll make the pass as well.
Now Rusty has moved into 9th position. Harry Gant 10th, and now into 11th is Darrell Waltrip. Dale Jarrett slides back to 12th. The number 94 car of Sterling Marlin also right there in the hunt.
Sterling appeared to be one of the fastest cars on the track before that caution because he was coming up through the field, picking them off one at a time. So he wants to try to do that again and get up towards the front.
Darrell Waltrip in car number 17 has more wins among active drivers than anyone else in the field. He has won 10 out of 29 races at this facility. Not a bad average. As a matter of fact, he and Dale Earnhardt are the only two that have won more than one race here at Bristol.
And at one point, he had 7 wins in a row in this race.
And there is Jeff Bodine like a shot out of a cannon in turn number 4 as he takes over 3rd position from Mark Martin. So we still have Ernie Irvin leading. 2nd place is Alan Kowicki, and then Jeff Bodine and Mark Martin 4th.
Boy, this is one thing I've never seen before. The first 7 cars. Oh, go.
We have a crash exiting turn number 2. Butch Miller, Larry Pearson and Eddie Bierschwale are involved. I don't believe there's going to be any serious damage. As a matter of fact, Bierschwale and Larry Pearson moving now. Also, Butch Miller is moving, so everybody is going to keep going. But a spin and a crash out of turn number 2. And here's a race to the caution flag, and Ernie Irvan maintains the lead.
Brett Bodine was involved in that accident as well.
You can tell one of his tires is flat. See his steering wheel vibrating?
Yeah, there's some damage to the front of the Motorcraft Ford, and Brett just wants to get it back around to the pit. And he is back to the pits right now. Bud Moore and the rest of the crew are going to work on this car.
So there were actually 4 cars involved in that little incident over there exiting turn number 2. Larry Pearson, Eddie Bierschwale, Butch Miller, and the number 15 car of Brett Bodine. You can see the Bud Moore crew trying to salvage that car and make some repairs on the right front. Here's a replay of what happened there. You can see Bodine caught up top as Miller spins down the track.
And Larry Pearson was already in a spinning position when we picked it up, and Butch Miller in the car number 51. Here's another angle. It looked like the 23 car got crossways, and Larry Pearson tried to go on the inside, got his left wheel down on the flat, and caused him to break loose. Here's the in-car camera. The 23 car was sideways. That's Eddie Bierschwale as he came off of the turn. You can see Brett Bodine could not see there for just a moment. As the cars were spinning in front of him, he took the high road, which was probably the smart thing to do.
So apparently minimal damage on that Brett Bodine car. He is back out on the racetrack already, but we are under our second caution flag of the afternoon at Bristol International Raceway. Under caution, 61 laps completed. The cleanup going on in turn number 2 as there were 4 cars that got together over there, but nothing of any significance involved were Larry Pearson, Eddie Bierschwale, Butch Miller, and the 15 car of Brett Bodine. Now, we saw a slow motion replay from the in car of Brett Bodine. Here it is in real time. Listen. Just a little bit of damage on the right front of the car, and they flattened a tire, but Brett Bodine still in the race. Let's go down to Benny Parsons with Bob Johnson.
Bob, I'm with the crew chief on Ernie Irvan's Kroger Pontiac. Where did you guys come from?
We didn't have a lot of practice here this week because of the rain and stuff. We just, you know, from past experience, would have run here and stuff, and it's a car we wrecked at Richmond real bad 2 weeks ago, and we're just happy with the thing, the way it's been going. We can hang on here all day. I'll be really pleased.
I'm telling you what, you're leading the race, and the big guns can't make a run at you right now, can they?
Yeah, if we hold our own here, we'll be really pleased. It's been going good, and we'll just see what happens.
The 15 cars in the pit right in front of us, they've been adjusting the toe out, trying to get that car back in shape. Jerry Punch is on the other side of pit road.
One other car involved with 51 of Butch Miller, Benny. And, you know, it was interesting. I talked to Butch before the race began. He bought this car for $400 last year from Kenny Bernstein. It's the car that Ricky Rudd had driven in the Winston, the All-Star race, and the car had been wrecked, and there was nothing left of it. No one wanted to fix it, and he said, let me buy it. And Bernstein sold it to him for $400. They rebuilt the car, put Chevrolet sheet metal on it. It was a Buick last year. They took the car to Richmond, qualified 10th up there. Were running 2nd at Richmond when the oil line came off. They qualified 9th here, so an impressive young run for, of course, the car number 51. And Brett Bodine's car getting involved in that crash over there. So a couple of contenders early on having some heavy damage here.
Still doing some work on the right front corner of the Motorcraft Ford. There's Brett Bodine now going back onto the racetrack. It's also interesting that a good friend of Butch Miller's, the number 51 driver, as he comes in for another stop. A good friend of his, James Finch, called up and said, if you make the top 10 in qualifying, I'll buy you 4 sets of tires. Well, they qualified 9th. It cost his friend $3,300. Butch Miller in for a stop. He was one of the 4 cars involved in an incident over in turn number 2. We'll be right back. Back at Bristol International Raceway, the green came out on lap number 65, and the number 2 car of Ernie Irvan is the leader of the race. The 57 car of Hutch Strickland is a lap car. Ernie's been having a heck of a time getting around him. Now he uses the high side in turns 3 and 4, and looks like Ernie's going to finally lap the 57 car.
Well, the car of Hutch Strickland, car number 57, Kowicki was really got loose there. But anyway, he did get back out in front, was back in the lead lap for a moment, but now he's a lap down again.
And here comes Jeff Bodine in the number 5 car off the 4th corner. So it's Kowicki running second, then Jeff Bodine, Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, and Rick Wilson as everybody tries to pass the 57 car of Hut Strickland. Now let's look at this incident up there in turn number 1. Kowicki way up high on the track.
Yeah, that's too high this early in the race. He got much higher than he wanted to be going in that turn, but fortunately he was able to get it back down. And we have a report, Bob, that Ken Schrader is not going to be able to get back in the race in the Folger Chevrolet as a result of that accident he had earlier.
Boy, that's something for Ken Schrader. You know, he wrecked 7 days ago in Darlington hard. The next day, Monday, at North Bristol, he was testing tires and he wrecked hard there. Now he wrecked hard again here. That's 3 wrecks in 7 days.
The number 21 car is driven by Neil Bonnet as it also tries to put a lap on the 57 car. And right behind Neil Bonnet, who started in 29th position, is our in-car camera that's being carried by Michael Walter from Dirty Country Time Machine. And that is the 7th position. Neil Bonnet has 7th, and Michael Waltrip is in 8th. And there is Harry Gant in car number 33, who's running 9th on the field. And behind Harry would be the 94 car of Sterling Marlin.
See, there are a lot of cars that are running bumper to bumper back through the field.
Well, we're going to give you a complete field rundown here after 65 laps, and Ernie Irvan is continuing to lead this race and doing a fine job. He certainly is not being even challenged right now by Alan Kowicki. Perhaps Alan thinks it's a little early to go racing, but Ernie has just been doing a fine job of staying out front.
He is doing a great job. You would think that after those that were running up front before that caution, when he made his pit stop and got out first, that they would have been able to pass him pretty quickly, but not the case. That car is really working. He's doing a great job of driving it.
Now we're watching Davey Allison. There's the 88 car driven by Greg Sachs, who is alongside Hut Strickland in car 57. Larry Pearson is also there in 16, and the number 55 of Bill Parsons. Now the 16 car of Larry Pearson did lose a lap during that crash over in turn 2.
And those cars that lost a lap, Hut Strickland and Larry Pearson, have to go down on the inside. They're being given the passing flag, and it is really tough. Those other cars running around there bumper to bumper fighting for position, and they have no alternative but to slow down when they go in the turn, give them some racing room out there, and it's awfully easy to get another lap down.
Well, you can see how tight things get. Right in here, the 57 car is a little slower than this group. They're all fighting for position. Look how tight it gets coming off the turns. There's just no room for any error at all.
And when you combine that with the fact that we do indeed have a new racetrack, and not only a new racetrack, but there has been virtually no rubber put down on it because of the rain that we have had here, and there's essentially one groove, at least in turns 1 and 2. There's a little bit more room in 3 and 4, but as the race goes on and as rubber is being laid down in the corners, it will create more passing lanes. Bill Elliott, car number 9, is following Dick Trickle in car number 84, and Brett Bodine there also in number 15.
Yeah, he was a winner, you know, here a year ago, and now he's running in the 19th position, which makes you wonder.
A car on the wall in turn 3 is Butch Miller as his second incident of the day. He pulls down off the banking and heads for his pit, which is not too far from where he is right now. So Butch is going to be able to make it into the pits, or perhaps he's deciding just to pull it behind the wall. He's damaged that car pretty good.
Yeah, he has quite a bit of damage to that car. And on the backstretch, as the pace car came out, Ernie Irvan was able to dive into the pits back there, so he should be able to get out first again if they make a good pit stop. Dale Jarrett stopping back there as well. And here is the Ernie Irvan car, the Kroger Pontiac. You can see other cars that are pitting on the backstretch. Now, this is an advantage. The drivers who are pitting on the backstretch, they're getting in the pits first because the caution car comes out in turn 1, and he jumped out in a hurry. Elmo Langley driving the pace car, so you can see the pit work going on the backstretch, and the front runners are just now coming into the pits.
Jeff Bodine and Alan Kowicki choose not to, but Dale Earnhardt, Rick Wilson, Mark Martin, Michael Waltrip, Rusty Wallace, and others do decide to make pit stops. I don't think we're going to be cautioned very long. As a matter of fact, the signal is being given at the moment by Harold Kinder, and we'll go back racing in one more lap. And there is Butch Miller, the ASA star, who has climbed out of his car after tagging the wall in turn number 4.
Boy, a lot of these teams that pitted on the front stretch for 4 tires are going to have some catching up to do. There's still cars on pit road on the front stretch here in the pace car right now, halfway down the back stretch, ready to go green. These cars are just leaving the front stretch, so they're going to be starting dead last, really just catching the field at the green flag.
Jeff Bodine, Alan Kowicki, and Neil Bonnet chose not to make pit stops this time. Now the caution car comes off the racetrack again. Eddie Bierschwell and Larry Pearson are lined up on the inside as the field now comes to a green once again on lap number 84. Jeff Bodine, the leader. Kowicki is second, then Neil Bonnet and Harry Gant. Eddie Bierschwell in car 23. Here comes Morgan Shepherd in the 75 car and Bill Elliott in 9th.
It's one of those tough decisions for the crew chief when the yellow comes out like 20 or 30 laps after you've just gotten tires on, like some of these cars. Some stayed out, some came in the pits. You never know when the next yellow is going to come out, if ever. And some of these cars are in the back in the traffic. They're in a more dangerous position with newer tires than, say, Jeff Bodine, who's up front pretty much running by himself with older tires.
We got some heavy traffic back where Dale Earnhardt. You see the 2 car coming into the picture. There's Greg Saxon, the blue car. And here's Dale Earnhardt down on the inside. Terry Labonte, who did make a pit stop on the outside of Earnhardt. And here is Rick Mast in car number 66. Some real heavy traffic here.
Yeah, that's pretty much the group that got 4 tires. You know, Ernie Irvin got 4, Dale Earnhardt got 4, Mark Martin got 4 tires. They're all right in that group there. And the racing trying to pass the cars that didn't stop.
Talking about rush hour on the LA freeway, nothing compared to this. Now here is Alan Kowicki making a bid for the lead, and he brings Neil Bonnet right with him, and Jeff Bodine falls back to 3rd position. Alan Kowicki now has the lead. Neil Bonnet is second, and Jeff Bodine, something must be wrong with that car. He's falling back.
Yes, he is. He's wondering if he has a tire going down. The car slipped a little bit with him, and he has to be wondering, and he's really slowing down, so apparently he does have a tire going down.
He chose not to pit during that caution by Butch Miller, and it's costing him. Is falling way back on the field. Here's the in-car action from Michael Waltrip. That's Dale Jarrett ahead.
They are really in some heavy traffic. That's the same group that we saw Earnhardt in that crew ahead a moment ago. And Jeff Bodine coming into the pits now as Neil Bonnet has taken the lead.
Neil Bonnet indeed has, as Jeff Bodine comes in for a stop. Jerry Punch is there in the Bodine pit.
Well, Jeff Bodine just radioed in and told Waddell Wilson, I've got a tire going down. They're checking the left side tires while they changed the right side tires. They had changed the right front and the right rear. The left side apparently down. He loses the left and apparently did have a tire going down.
Well, that's a tough break for Jeff Bodine, but it's early in the race, and if his car is fast enough, he can perhaps get that lap back sometime later.
So Jeff has a lot of catching up to do. Meanwhile, on the racetrack up front, it is Neil Bonnet who is leading in the Wood Brothers Ford. The Wood Brothers have never won a race on this facility.
And Neil Bonnet started, as you mentioned, back in 29th place, but here comes Harry Gant. Caution out.
We're yellow as the pace car comes out onto the racetrack. I do not know for what the caution has been brought out. Apparently no crash or spin on the track, maybe some debris on the racetrack. Neil Bonnet chooses to pit on the backstretch on lap number 95. There is debris, we understand, on the backstretch, causing our 3rd caution. And there it is as one of the NASCAR officials goes out to retrieve it. So Neil Bonnet, the leader, came in for a stop, and that's going to hand over the lead. Nope, here comes Harry Gant and others in for a pit stop. So we'll shake all this out and be back right after this. Welcome back to Bristol International Raceway. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Jerry Punch, and Benny Parsons. And for the first time in 1989, Bill Elliott is leading a lap. It is under caution, but Bill has the lead. Now let's go to Benny Parsons, who can tell us about some tire switching that's going on down there.
Well, Bob, I'm in the pits with Steve Mill, the crew chief on the Mark Martin Stroh's Light 4 Thunderbird. You have switched tires?
Yes, sir. We put the Hoosiers on. Looked like a bunch of cars come from the rear to the front awful good on them. So we're going to give them a shot here in the middle of the race, and we'll make a decision for the last 100 laps.
Have you had any laps on the Hoosiers, any green flag laps? Are they faster or what?
Traffic was so bad where we couldn't really tell. We'll find out something here in a little bit.
Jerry Punch, what's your story?
Well, Alan Kowicki is getting the black flag, Benny. Paul Andrews, the crew chief, you see talking to the NASCAR official. Apparently in the drivers' meeting, they did explain to the drivers that if you come out of the pits and get above that white line, you will be black flagged back in the pits for a stop-and-go penalty. So apparently Kowicki came back on the racetrack and got above that line, and he will have to come down pit road for a quick stop-and-go. We go back to green.
Alan Kowicki is coming down pit road right now, so that'll mean he'll be at the back of the pack. He should stay in the lead lap. In fact, he has just stopped and he's gone again, but the leaders are coming off of turn 4. Bill Elliott, the leader, but now Jeff Bodine has gotten back in the lead lap, Bob. He's running in front of Bill Elliott.
And Alan Kowicki is trying desperately to stay in the lead lap as he gets that car up to speed. Meanwhile, it's Larry Pearson leading this group down the backstretch, but the leader of the race would be Bill Elliott in car number 9.
Larry Pearson, of course, had lost the lap in that accident spin on turn 2, so he's trying to stay in the lead lap as well. Brett Bodine in the same position. Both of those drivers passing Larry Pearson right now. That is the Bodine brothers.
We are 1/5 of the way through this race. 100 laps have been completed, and Bill Elliott is the leader. And there is the leader from our Motocraft in-car camera being carried by Brett Bodine. NASCAR is really watching this pit exit situation. They have called drivers in for stop-and-go penalties many times during this session. And it's just simply that if they blend in the traffic too soon and cross a line that extends from the exit of the pit road, they really watch them. Now, a great battle going on in the track. A whole bunch of cars are running right together on the racetrack. Included in the group, Darrell Waltrip in 17, Eddie Bierschwale, Rusty Wallace, Morgan Shepherd, Davey Allison, Harry Gant, and coming into the screen is the number 67 car driven by Brad T.
Most of those cars made pit stops during this last caution period, Bob, and were pretty far back in the pack, so trying to make their way back up through there. Harry Gant got caught on the outside there a moment ago, and Davey Allison and a couple others got by him, but now he's picking back up on Davey Allison.
Well, there's just no relaxing here at Bristol. You know, you get back, you relax a little bit, you're going to get lapped. You got to fight every inch of this way. 500 laps around this racetrack, every lap going in about 17 seconds. There's just no relaxation. As you watch Darrell Waltrip, he's pushing on the back bumper, or trying to catch the back bumper there of Bobby Hillin.
Bobby Hillin Jr. in the number 8 car, and just ahead of him is the 21 of Neil Bonnet and the 84 of Dick Trickle. Darrell Waltrip, 10 wins in Winston Cup competition here at Bristol.
Bill Elliott, of course, still leading, but right behind him in the blue 88 is Greg Sachs, and there's that 2 car of Ernie Irvin hanging right up in there, right in front of Dale Earnhardt.
A very impressive performance by Ernie Irvin in the early going, as he has already led part of this race and keeps fighting back. Now runs in 3rd position. His best finish, by the way, here at Bristol was a 15th in last year's Busch 500, the fall race.
You can almost watch that 2 car as he goes into the corner. He gains just a little bit, but right there, when he hits the gas, is when he really pulls up, right there behind Greg Sachs.
He pulled up a little too much, but look, man, can you believe that? The man was sideways and he took the lead?
Unbelievable. Well, Greg Sachs had a tremendous run last week at Darlington and unfortunately crashed in the late going. And here he is now taking the lead from Bill Elliott sideways coming off the 2nd corner. Ernie Irvin moves to 2nd and Bill Elliott is back in 3rd as Dale Earnhardt now pressures Bill for that 3rd spot. Boy, that's as close as you can come to spinning and saving it. And we'll take a look at it once again.
Okay, as they come off of the turn, Greg Sachs trying to get down on the inside of Bill Elliott, and he touched Bill just a little bit. Bill had to get out of the throttle. Then Ernie Irvin came up and touched the Greg Sachs car, got him sideways as he was passing Bill Elliott, but he straightened her out and went on, and both of them went by the defending Winston Cup champion.
It was almost as if Ernie Irvin drop kicked, though, Greg Sachs into the lead.
So Sachs in the Crisco Pontiac now is in command, and here's some action as the 26 car of Ricky Rudd seems to be getting past quite easily as he's caught on the high side of the racetrack. That's Ricky Rudd, who began in the backup car from the rear of the pack.
Yeah, he did not make a pit stop during that last caution period. Was in the top 10, but now he's going backwards. And as you said, that is a backup car that he has. Had no laps on this racetrack, so he's having a tough time with it.
Out the back class of Michael Waltrip's car, watching the 31 machine driven by Jim Sauter. There's Phil Parsons also behind Michael as he tries to position himself Here, Dale Jarrett in the 29 Hardee's car.
That has been some very heavy traffic since the green came back out as well. Rick Wilson just moved around Dale Jarrett.
And Dale now finds himself in 10th position as Michael runs 11th. Then Jim Sauter and the 55 car of Bill Parsons is in 13th.
You notice most of them, Bob, are still using that low groove, as you mentioned earlier. As the race goes on and they have to do some passing, the groove will move up a little bit, but they're still staying fairly low on the racetrack at this point. And that is certainly not uncommon for new pavement.
There's the 31 car of Jim Sauter that we're watching, trying to move alongside Michael Waltrip. Well, they are moving into turn number 1 again. That's Eddie Bierschwale in the number 23 car that is being passed.
Boy, there's been some good racing all through the pack, from the leaders all the way back to the guys that are trying to keep from getting lapped. Everybody is really showing a lot of determination here today.
Here's Sauter once again looking to the inside of Michael Waltrip, going into turn number 1. It looks like that Jim maybe has the faster car, and if he could get around, Michael would take off, but just cannot find it with the tight banking.
Jim, of course, from Wisconsin, father of 11 children, driving the Bob Clark Motorsports car, and now I believe he has the measure of it.
Yep, he pulls alongside and pulls ahead of Michael Waltrip in turn number 2, so the number 31 car of Jim Sauter goes to 11th position. The lead, meanwhile, held by Greg Sachs in the Crisco Pontiac, and the number 2 car of Ernie Irvin, the Kroger Pontiac, running in 1st and 2nd positions.
And if you fans are wondering about Jeff Bodine, he has pulled away from these cars as they battle for the lead. He's a good straightaway ahead of them, so he's back in the lead lap after making that unscheduled pit stop for tires under a green flag condition. So Jeff Bodine is back in it here now. No threat of going a lap down. Ernie Irvin wants the lead. He's really working on Greg Sachs. A pair of Pontiacs there battling for the front position.
When you get into a position like this, I would guess, Ned, when the car is working so well as it is for Ernie Irvin, you just kind of say to yourself, I can't let this opportunity go to waste. I got to try to win this race now.
Absolutely. You stay up there and go as good as you can. Dale Earnhardt has just moved around Bill Elliott for the 3rd position, and there's a big cheer goes up in the stands, and some cheers and some jeers, I guess you would say, because some were not too happy to see Bill Elliott get past. Bill's been out there quite a while since he changed tires. He didn't make a pit stop during either of those last 2 caution periods.
Look at Ernie Irvin really putting the pressure on Greg Sachs. Closing in on him in the corners. Well, we'll show you the top 10 now as we are 123 laps into the 500 lap Valleydale 500. Our 5th caution flag of the afternoon on lap number 126, and this is the reason why we have been slowed down momentarily. It involved a spin up in turn number 4.
Larry Pearson moving up on the outside of the Hut Strickland car number 57. And here's Ernie Irvin taking the lead from Greg Sachs as Pearson gets loose, spins around, and Ernie Irvin barely misses him. Here comes Greg Sachs, almost T-bones him, gets down on the inside. Pearson sitting there in the groove, a sitting duck, but the caution is out, and everybody gets around, and everybody comes into the pits then.
And here's another angle of it, and watch how very, very close that Ernie Irvin comes to hitting the Larry Pearson car, and so too Greg Sachs. Look at this, though.
Good job of driving. Boy, he just kept that thing down on the inside. That is a sign of a good handling race car and a sign of a good driver.
Good reaction from both Greg Sachs and Ernie Irvin. It was like magicians the way they missed that car. Usually in a wreck like that, there's a lot involved.
And here is the crew cam that's being carried by Horace Simpson as they went to work on the Dale Earnhardt car. He's the tire carrier. His movements are very quick. Now, when he positions those tires on the right side of the car, he moves back across the wall. Why is that?
Well, on a 4-tire stop, the guy changing the left rear tire can jump over the wall as soon as the tire carrier gets back. So there's only 5 men allowed over the wall. As soon as Horace jumps the wall, jumps back into the pit area, the other tire changer for the left side jumps back over.
All right, the green flag is out, and we are back racing once again, and the lead now is the number 8 car driven by Bobby Hillin Jr. Now a great break for a couple of drivers during that caution period, including Jeff Bodine. Jerry Punch.
Indeed it was, Bob. Jeff Bodine, who was on the lead lap, tail into the lead lap when the caution came out, he was able to stay on the throttle and come around the racetrack and come in and pit along with the leaders. In fact, Bodine was pitting at the same time that Earnhardt and Elliott were pitting. He got 4 tires, a great pit stop by the Levi Garrett crew. He is back on the lead lap and back in contention.
Now some great bumper tag going on there in turn number 3 as one of the cars got just a little out of shape and had to stand on the brakes, and several became involved in a bumping incident. No major damage, however, as there is the Ricky Rudd car and Jeff Bodine as he fights his way through the field. Let's take a look at once again what happened up there in turn number 3 just last lap.
You can see Ricky Rudd down on the inside, and 2 cars bump up in front of him. Somebody bumps Davey Allison's car number 28. That was Phil Parsons, and it really jammed him up there for a moment, but everybody got straightened out and kept going.
And now Bobby Hillin Jr. loses the lead as Harry Gant in the 33 car goes underneath. So does the 31 of Jim Sauter. However, he is simply getting a lap back. So the leader is Harry Gant in car number 33. Bobby Hillin back to 2nd position, followed by Morgan Shepherd in 75, then Alan Kulwicki in 7. And we're showing the number 16 car of Pearson in 5th position, but no, he is a lap down to the field. And Dale Earnhardt is shown in 5th right now. Kulwicki gets high on the track, and here comes Dale Earnhardt to pass, and here comes Bill Elliott right behind. There must be something wrong with Kulwicki's car.
I don't know. I think he just went in there and got a little bit too high. Maybe the car's pushing up a little bit with him. And once you get in that outside groove and the fast cars move under you, it's awfully tough to get back in line.
Well, Hut Strickland is certainly racing with him. He passes, so does Sterling Marlin. And now Rusty Wallace moves to the inside of the 7 car.
And Dale Jarrett got awfully loose coming off of turn 4. I don't know if there's some grease up there or what, but he did get it back under control. But there's a lot of slipping coming off of turn 4. There might be a little bit of oil on that track. But the others seem to be coming through there pretty good. We saw several cars so get a little bit slippery. Alan Kulwicki now has it back down on the low groove. So I think he just got too high there, Bob, and it really cost him a lot of positions.
Yeah, I guess it just shows that once you do get up high, you can get passed by 5, 6 cars in the blink of an eye.
Well, the way they're running, they're almost nose to tail. As you look at there, there's not room for any traffic in between. There's hardly a car length between anybody. So if you get high, they're all going by until you can find an opening to drop in.
Kulwicki does appear to be running at full song once again, staying ahead of the 27 car of Rusty Wallace and behind the 57 of Hut Strickland.
You know, they're just learning this track, the new conditions with the new pavement. But in the old Bristol racetrack, later in the race, some of the traffic used to run up high. It was really a 2 or 3 group track in the turn. So far today, we haven't seen much of that. As you see, it's happening to Bill Elliott. He got up high. They're just going right by him without. We really can't run as fast up high as they used to be able to.
So the 7 car of Kulwicki passes, and so does the 27 car of Rusty Wallace. Here comes Mark Martin in the 6 car, and Rick Mast in 66 now moving to the inside of Bill Elliott, or at least trying to. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's been watching the battle here between the 7 car of Kulwicki and the 27 of Rusty Wallace.
Well, we talked with Alvin's crew chief, Paul Andrews, who told us that Alvin apparently just got a little bit high in turn 1 and 2, as you fellas had talked in the tower. And apparently Alvin says the tires seem to hook up pretty well for a few laps and then just suddenly go away. So you have to really back off, and you can't be quite as aggressive as you want to be. You have to use the bottom of the racetrack. You can't use the high groove because it's just too slippery up there. So that's what Alan Kulwicki is reporting right now.
Well, now Alan Kulwicki is putting some heat on the 57 car of Hut Strickland, who's a little bit loose coming off the 4th turn.
And he wants to pass him on the inside this time. He was trying to pass on the outside the other time, but he makes the move on the inside this time. That's the fast place to be. And now Hut Strickland has gotten caught on the outside, and the fast car is going by on the inside.
Boy, everybody's had a shot at that 57 car today. It seems like he's been bounced all over.
You know what? These tracks, I'm talking about Bristol and Talladega, are 2 totally different racetracks, but there's a similarity. If you get out of the draft at Talladega, you're sent behind. If you get out of the groove, if you get on the high side of the racetrack here, you lose positions.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing. It's a different racetrack now. Hopefully the upper groove will start wearing in later on in the race, but right now it's a 1 groove track. You get out of line, just like that 57 car is doing there. He's lost about 6 spots in the last couple laps.
There is Dick Trickle in car number 84, who is moving inside of Hut Strickland, and here comes Greg Sachs. Sachs a little loose coming off the turn.
Well, it's got to be frustrating for a guy like Greg Sachs, who have gone from the leader till now he's a half a lap down, but he's just in traffic. There's nowhere to go. You know, maybe any one of these cars that he's running with, given the opportunity, could be the leader if they were up front, but they're all just fighting for position.
Davey Allison in car number 28 is 16th. 55 car of Phil Parsons is 17th. And the 5 car of Jeff Bodine is in 18th position. The 29 car of Dale Jarrett running in 19th spot. So Jeff Bodine has made up a lost lap and now runs in 18th position. Side-by-side action here. Phil Parsons to the inside and Davey Allison outside. And meanwhile, we have a change of leader as Harry Gant is beginning, it seems, to drop off the pace just a little bit. And Morgan Shepherd goes in front with Dale Earnhardt now second.
And this is the first time Morgan Shepherd has led this year. Last year, he led in 5 different cars that he drove for different teams. And this is the first time in 1989 that he has taken the lead.
Boy, that's something like, what, 10 lead changes already? And what are we, 140, 150 laps into the race? We're just headed for a record here, guys.
Morgan's best finish here at Bristol in a Winston Cup race was 3rd in the 1982 and 83 Valleydale Meets 500, but he has 4 Busch Grand National wins here, so certainly knows his way around this racetrack.
And the number 3 car of
Harry Gant spinning out here on the front straightaway.
Well, and he gets tagged in the rear end just a little bit by Larry Pearson. You just had to think there was something wrong with that car of Harry Gant's because he slowed pretty dramatically and got passed by those 2.
Yeah, I would say that he had a tire going down or a tire had blistered or something of that nature. I would say it was a tire-related problem that caused him to eventually spin out. The cars had passed him. Here's Morgan Shepherd in the Valvoline Pontiac in the pits getting service. Of course, he was the first car to come down pit road.
All of this happening on lap number 150. Let's go to Jerry Punch in the Earnhardt pit.
Well, right side tires already on the Goodrich Chevrolet, and the left side Hoosiers going back on Dale Earnhardt's car as he has put Hoosiers on during the last pit stop. 4 cars. Let's go up to Harry Gant's pit and Benny Parsons.
Harry Gant, the Skull Bandit, blew a right rear tire as he was coming off turn 4. I heard the tire blow. He spun all the way down the front straightaway, and luckily no one hit him. He came in, they changed the right side. I'm sure he'll be back in the next lap to get left sides.
Yeah, Benny, he was a lucky soul, this man coming off of turn 4 with the traffic coming down on him and not get hit.
There's Sterling Marlin moving his Sunoco car into the pits for a tire change on the right side. And Alan Kulwicki is also in, and Jerry Punch is there.
Well, the Xerox Ford now getting right side rubber, and Billy Engel swings that jack around. He learned that up at Peter Johnson's shop where he used to work years ago. They will put left side tires on the Alan Kulwicki car. Now Kulwicki staying with the Goodyear tires. He is down and away. Sterling Marlin also is getting 4 tires. He is down and away, as is the Tide Chevrolet. Harry Gant's car back on pit road. He is down and away. Likewise, Davey Allison and the Tide Chevrolet of Darrell Waltrip. Well, Michael Waltrip now getting his down and off pit road.
Michael comes out behind his brother. Well, actually, Bill Elliott got between the 2 Waltrip brothers. Let's go back to the pits and Benny Parsons.
Ned Jarrett, I was talking to the Harry Gant crew when he blew the right rear tire. They said that it looked like that. I asked him why they were backing up a little bit, and he said the tires had about 50 laps on them, and they may be in fact going away. And it looks like that's the case. I've got to go check it out and see if the tire was cut, worn out, or what's happening. I'll get back with you.
Well, we mentioned that tires could very well be a factor in this race, and it appears as if they will be. Here is a replay of Harry Gant's spin.
He had dropped back to 3rd place. You can see as the tire went down, he spun around, just barely missing the wall. He spins it down on the inside. Here comes Sterling Marlin up on the outside, and Larry Pearson down on the inside, and Pearson gets his car stopped, just barely nudges him. Larry was afraid to make an evasive move because he probably would have spun out down on the flat part of that racetrack, so he did the right thing. No damage to either car by just barely bumping.
All right, we have completed now 153 laps of the Valleydale Meets 500 at Bristol, with the lead now being held by Rusty Wallace. ESPN Speed World today at Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee for the Valleydale Meets 500, which is right now on lap number 155. Tires have indeed been a factor. Benny Parsons has more on pit road.
Bob Jenkins, this is the right rear tire that came off Harry Gant's car. Andy Petrie, the crew chief, told me that they had a slow leak in the right rear, and they rode around on it going flat for so long that they finally blistered the tire and blew it. The interesting thing is, you see this tire here, this part of the tire is the inner liner. At Bristol, that is only required in the right front. But Leo Jackson, Andy Petrie, and Harry Gant decided, hey, we're going to put this thing in the right rear. And if it hadn't been there, he probably would have knocked the wall down. Good thinking on their part.
Well, that tire is pretty much history, but you know, when they come in to change a tire that has suffered that kind of damage, placement of the jack during pit stop is not necessarily a guessing game. There is a specific point that works best on the car, and here's that information in our track fact. Track facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
We talk a lot about fast tire changing in Winston Cup racing, but one of the real keys to a fast tire change is a good, efficient jackman. Now, there's a lot of different things that the jackman does to make the pit stop go fast, but one of the key points is where he positions his jack along the side frame rail of the car so both tires will come off the ground equally. Since center of gravity is one of the tools the teams use to adjust the handling of the car, it's constantly changing. So therefore, after the last practice session, the jackman goes to the car and jacks it up to find the ideal location where both tires will come up at the same time. How does he remember that point? Simple. 200-mile-an-hour tape, stick a piece right there, and he'll have his position for the rest of the day. You can see that the point on this car is well behind the center between the two wheels, but this happens to be the exact point where both tires come off the ground at exactly the same time, possibly saving a stroke on a pit stop.
So pit stops have been made here during this most recent caution period at Bristol, and we'll be back with more of our live coverage after these messages. Stay with us. We are under caution. However, we did run about 1 lap under green, and during that time, Rusty Wallace experienced a problem. Here's with more on that story from Jerry Punch.
Oh, Rusty was leading when the green came back up, and the car veered across the racetrack, and he radioed in and said, "I have a tire going down." Apparently, they think it's the left front tire here on the Kodiak Pontiac. So Barry Dodson and crew are having him on the pits now, changing all 4 tires. Rusty came down pit road, and while he was getting ready to change a tire, the yellow flag came out. He tried to beat the leaders back out of the pits, but apparently he did lose a lap, and with black flag on NASCAR to come back in. Let's go up pit road to Benny Parsons. Benny?
Thank you very much, Jerry Punch. I'm with Steve Mill, the crew chief on the Mark Martin Ford Thunderbird. And Steve, you had to make a pit stop. You had to pit board out when the caution flag dropped. What was the problem?
Well, we had a flat right rear, and we got run over from behind because we run so slow, and a piece of our aluminum on the racetrack brought the caution out, so we had bad luck and good luck. We were real nervous about tearing up these Hoosiers. We didn't tear one up. We had a flat tire, so we've adjusted the car a little bit to tighten it up. We think we'll be okay, but we're real nervous about the traffic here.
There's some heavy damage to the rear of the car. Do you think it hurt anything?
No, it hurt the underbody a little bit, but a little short racetrack like this, you could blow the whole body off and not slow you down a lot.
Thanks, Steve. Back to you, Bob.
All right, thanks, Benny. Now let's go back and take a look at Rusty experiencing this tire problem and how he lost many positions.
Yeah, he was down on the inside of the racetrack, and there's Mark Martin behind him. Mark has a tire going down too, so he can't get up. All those fast cars passing up on the outside, so both of them really losing a lot of positions, and they go a full lap like that, Bob.
And just about at this point, the yellow came out, and so Rusty did indeed come into the pit area, but while he was coming in, the yellow came out, and Rusty just stopped near his pit, as you will see right here, just came within a neighborhood of, and then they see the yellow flag and they say, go back out on the racetrack, and he does, but still Wallace loses a lap during that little incident. However, a couple of cars have made up laps, including the 31 of Jim Sauter and the 57 car driven by Hut Strickland, so those cars go back to the lead lap. And here is the green flag to resume racing at the 165 lap mark. And look who, once again, is leading this race. It is Ernie Irvin in car number 2. Now, the 16 car of Larry Pearson is not on the lead lap, but Ernie Irvin still looking very strong here with Rick Wilson running in second spot. And then it's the number
5 car, Jim Bodine, now running in the 4th position, or in the 3rd position. He has moved around Rick Mast, who was running 3rd. Mast running 4th. Dale Jarrett is 5th. Oh, trouble here. Ernie Irvin into the wall.
Boy, he got way up on that wall, and Brett Bodine becomes involved as Dale Earnhardt narrowly misses 3 cars involved in this. Ernie Irvin, the 15 of Brett Bodine, and the 57 of Hut Strickland, and it appears as if the day for Ernie Irvin is over after a very fine performance in the first 168 laps.
Well, that's really too bad because he was having one super run here today. And the best race of his career, really, as far as Winston Cup racing is concerned.
He got way up on that wall. You can almost imagine that car turning over, but it did not. It just slid down the wall, and then a couple of our other cars were involved, including Brett Bodine. Here's a replay.
Well, it looks like he might have blown a tire because that car just veered straight right as he came off of that turn. And that certainly is not a place that you want to have a tire to go down, but I believe that that's what happened.
And from another angle, we'll take a look at it again.
And you see the car does get up on the right side and was hit by the car number 57. Rusty Wallace hits the car number 57. As other cars go by, here comes Brett Bodine coming down into the 2-car. Heavy traffic. Let's go down to Jerry Punch and Rick Wilson's pit.
Well, the lead car, Rick Wilson, has the Kodak Oldsmobile on pit road. They will change all 4 tires. They're working on the right side tires. And now they come around the left side of the car, have the jack under the car. Tony Glover and the rest of the Kodak crew now working to put left side rubber on the car. Rick Wilson has said the driver who did all the testing for Hoosier up here, and it's paying off for him. The tires are running very, very well here on that car. Let's go up to Benny Parsons.
Jerry Punch, that is what happened. I saw Ernie Irvin as he came off the corner, was watching the car. He blew a right front tire, hit the wall extremely hard, and then took a heavy blow in the door from the Hut Strickland automobile. But I did watch him take him out of the car. He walked away. They've now put him in the ambulance. They're going to take him over to the care center just to be as a precautionary measure. But he blew a right front and hit the wall a ton. What a super run he had going today.
He sure did. And Ernie was kind of. And as we take a look at it again, you can see the car making hard contact, and then he really gets nailed by the 57 car. Ernie kind of walked gingerly to the ambulance, but it appears as if there were no serious injuries suffered in that incident. There is a cleanup, however, that will be going on here on the main straightaway to get Irvin's car off the track and also the 57 of Hut Strickland. So, our 8th caution period of the afternoon is over Bristol International Raceway in the Valleydale 500. Under caution here at Bristol because of an accident that occurred coming out of corner number 4 involving 3 cars, Ernie Irvin, Brett Bodine, and Hut Strickland. You can see Ernie Irvin's car being pulled off the racetrack. There is Brett Bodine as he sits in his car, repairs being made to it. He's being interviewed by a radio reporter there. Now let's take another look at it as the number 2 car just suddenly darted toward the wall in turn 4.
He was leading the race, and apparently the right front tire blew, and he almost got up on the wall. Rick Wilson in the yellow car takes the lead, but the 2 car comes back down into Hut Strickland, car number 57. Rusty Wallace barely got through there, and then Brett Bodine collects the car number 2.
And now we will have a replay as it looked to Brett Bodine. This is the second incident Brett's been involved in today. Here's how it looked from his vantage point.
So he was going into turn 3 there, running behind Dale Jarrett, and then you can see the trouble happen up in front of him. He goes to the inside of the racetrack. There's Rick Mast coming down in the 66 car, and bam, right into the 2 car he goes. He just decided to take the low groove, but that was the wrong groove because the car number 2 bounced off of the wall down to the inside of the racetrack right in front of Brett Bodine.
There's Rusty Wallace, who narrowly escaped that incident. We'll try to reach him on the radio here. Rusty, this is Bob Jacobs. You got a copy?
Half mile behind us. I'm busy right now, Bob. Hold on.
Okay, we will not eavesdrop on that conversation between Barry Dotson and Rusty Wallace, as they're perhaps talking about information that should not be given on the airwaves so that other crews could perhaps hear the information. But Ernie Irvin was taken to the infield care center, as was Hut Strickland, and they apparently are okay, but both are being checked over. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, Ernie Irvin just stepped out of the infield care center, and he is okay. That's the good news. Ernie, I want to tell you, partner, a super run today in that Kroger Pontiac.
Yeah, really, Bob Johnson had that car really working good, and, you know, we were kind of just biding our time and trying to pick cars off as, you know, we could, and car ran real good. We must have cut a tire.
You hit the wall pretty hard, and then you got tagged up there. I mean, did you have any warning at all the tire was going to go?
Well, no, none at all. I just, you know, heard it pop, and, you know, then when it does that, there's nowhere you can do here. Hang on.
Well, it's good that he's okay. We also like to report that Hut Strickland is also in the infield care center. He has been checked out and is found to be okay as well. Gentlemen?
All right, fine run by Ernie Irvin. Unfortunately, it's all over. Now, here again is a replay from the in-car camera of Brett Bodine. This is the real time, and we'll let you listen to what happened. You can see the disgust on the part of Brett Bodine as he slams the steering wheel after just being a victim of circumstances and Irvin's car sliding across the track right ahead of him. Now let's take a look at our lap leaders. Mark Martin has led this race, as did Ernie Irvin. Neil Bonnet led for a while, so did Harry Gant. Bill Elliott led for the first time in 1989 earlier in the race. Bobby Hillin Jr. has been a leader, as has Morgan Shepherd, Rusty Wallace, Sterling Marlin, and Jeff Bodine. And we're not finished yet. Alan Kowicki and Greg Sachs have also been leaders in the first 175 laps of this race. There in all have been 13 lead changes among 12 different drivers.
Well, Jeff Bodine is leading right now. You can see the 27 car of Rusty Wallace right in front of Bodine and right behind the pace car. Rusty Wallace is at the tail end of the lead lap now, so he'd like to stay out there if possible and hope for another caution.
All right, so the cleanup is continuing here on the main straightaway. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for ESPN's Winston Cup Racing. Caution still out at Bristol with the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine in the lead and the 66 of Rick Mast running in second position. Well, since we arrived at Bristol International Raceway on Thursday, the weather has been kind of unseasonable. In fact, the weather has played a great part in what's gone on here. For a recap since Thursday, here's our friend Benny Parsons.
Friday morning, the Busch Grand National and Winston Cup teams were greeted by cool temperature and rain. Around 1 p.m., the sky cleared and practice began. Almost immediately, there was 3 crashes that eliminated the 4 cars of Tommy Ellis, Dale Jarrett, Brandon Baker, and Bobby Hillin Jr. In Busch Grand National qualifying, Rick Wilson won the pole, and on the outside, Mark Martin. Then it was time for Winston Cup qualifying. 12 cars broke the track qualifying record. And on the pole for the second race in a row is Mark Martin in the Stroh's Light Ford Thunderbird. Joining him on the front row is Jeff Bodine in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. The story Saturday was rain and illness. Rusty Wallace developed an inner ear infection that threatens his being at full strength today. Rain also forced the postponement of the Budweiser 200 until Monday at 11 a.m. All Winston Cup qualifying was washed out, and for the second time in the last 3 races, Richard Petty failed to qualify.
So the king is not in the field, but Jeff Bodine is and leading this race as we are still cleaning up the accident that occurred here on the main straightaway that involved the cars number 15 of Bodine, Ernie Irvin, and Hud Strickland. Back at the Valleydale 500 with 180 of 500 laps complete. It is Jeff Bodine, Rick Mast, Morgan Shepherd, Dick Trickle, and Dale Earnhardt, the top 5. We go to Benny Parsons, who's with Brett Bodine.
Thank you very much, Bob. Brett, when it rains, it pours, doesn't it?
Well, I'll tell you, Benny, you know, the car was running real well. We got our lap back after that early skirmish with Butch Miller and Kenny Burswell, and I'll tell you, the car was really dialed in. I've never had a car that was just so easy to drive. You know, this place usually tears the driver up, and I feel like I could run 800 laps around here. The car was really running well.
What do you think when you come off the corner and the world's crashed in front of you?
Well, as you know here, things happen so fast. You know, you see it in the 4th turn, and before you even get a chance to react, you're in it. I never saw the 2-car Ernie Irvin. I seen him up in the wall, and then I lost him when he got back on the racetrack in all the smoke. And I had cleared Hut Strickland in the 57 car, and then Ernie come out of the middle of that smoke, and I just had nowhere to go.
No place to go. He's in the garage area trying to get the car repaired. Let's go to Jerry Punch with Barry Dodson.
Well, Barry, just talking to Rusty Wallace. And Barry, what's the status of Rusty? How's he feeling?
He's feeling fine, Jerry. I'm telling him, suck on that water jug. He says he's not thirsty. So he's fine right now. We got Dave Marcus standing by, and we need to get this lap back.
Well, they said they're right on schedule. They're a lap down. Now they're ready to win it. Going back to green, fellas.
Green flag is out, and Rusty is indeed at the head of the pack, but he is now at the tail end of the lead lap as Jeff Bodine has the lead, and Rick Mast runs in second position. Morgan Shepherd with a very bad start. He got high on the racetrack and lost a couple of positions as here they come for a completion of the lap.
Morgan Shepherd still continuing to go high down in turn 1, so he's losing a lot of positions. Apparently he has a tire going down or something wrong with the Valvoline Pontiac. Rusty Wallace trying to stay out in front of Jeff Bodine, hoping for a caution.
That third car there on your screen is Rick Mast in the number 66 car. Now, that is not carrying any sponsorship. It did carry some earlier in the year, and Banquet Foods has announced that they will be back with Rick Mast as sponsor on the car for 3 more events beginning next weekend when we're at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. They'll also be on the car for the Talladega 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. And there is Rick Mast's progression since the green flag drop. He started 15th. Moved up to 9th at the end of 90 laps, was 4th at the end of 150, and Rick Mast is now in 2nd position at the end of 184 laps. This is definitely his best run since Daytona.
Boy, that is something. See Rick Mast out there running. You know, that's the guy that Benny interviewed earlier and talked about having the triple neck braces, and right behind him there is Dick Trickle. So both of those drivers really, this is their first Winston Cup races that I know of here at Bristol. Both of them are running awful good.
You know, Dick Trickle there in the number 84 car, who is trying to move inside of Rick Mast. He loves this kind of racetrack. He's an ASA veteran, as we have the number 7 car of Alan Kowicki, the current Winston Cup points leader, in for a tire change. They go to the right side. Jerry Punch is right there. Take it away.
Well, Alan apparently thinks he must have a tire going down there, putting 2 more Goodyear Eagles on the right side of the Xerox Ford, losing valuable time and laps here in the 5th under green flag competition. Kowicki now off the jack. Car refires, he's down and away.
Kowicki moves back out onto the racetrack and stays below that white line, but still a valuable time lost there for Alan Kowicki as he had to make the stop under green, and here come the leaders.
And there go by, and he's at least 2 laps down now, Bob. He lost a lap into pits, and it looks like there might be some smoke coming from the car, Gary.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the clutch is slipping and not really getting up to speed. Either that or it's overheated. There's some kind of a problem. It looks like fluid coming out from the right rear bumper. That would be an overheated engine. Maybe that's antifreeze coming out. But the smoke looks like it's coming from farther up into the motor.
Well, we talked at the very open of the show about how things changed last week on the track and in the point standings, and they could change again this weekend, because here is the points leader having trouble as something is coming out of the right rear of that race car. Jerry, what can you tell us?
Well, the car appears to be running okay, and Alan has brought the car in and cut it off. Okay, Alan is still motioning to the crew to try to figure out what the problem is. He is trying to he's getting the belts unhooked now, and very disgusted at getting the window netting down. A lot of smoke has appeared beneath the hood. We'll try to get a quick comment from Alan Kowicki if we can. Alan, what happened out there? What's wrong?
It appears that the water pump on the car broke, I think. I thought I blew a tire, and I think the water pump broke.
Well, that explains all the fluid coming out beneath the car. A tough day for the Xerox Ford.
Well, that's when you see all that smoke coming out from under the hood. That is a seriously overheated engine. It's like the head gaskets will just sizzle, the valve cover gaskets, the oil. That smoke is coming from a severely overheated engine.
And you know, some drivers will get out of their cars and leave the work to the crew members, but Alan takes off the gloves and he sticks his nose right in there where the problem is to try to figure out what's wrong with that car. On the racetrack, meanwhile, a lot of good action going on once again. There is Rusty Wallace in car number 27, who is still trying to stay on the lead lap with the leader of the race, Jeff Bodine, in car number 5. So far, Rusty successful in doing that and staying at the tail end of the lead lap. Meanwhile, we go back and find other activity on the racetrack behind this group, including the run by the number 84 car driven by Dick Trickle. Now, he is currently shown in 3rd position. As I started to say earlier, this is his kind of racetrack. He grew up in ASA competition, running tracks this size and even shorter. And one of my favorite quotes in all of racing came from Dick a few years ago when he took his ASA car to run at the Anderson Speedway in Indiana, which is only a ¼ of a mile in length and about these high banks. He said it's like racing there is like jet fighters in a gymnasium, and I think you can almost apply that to this race here this afternoon. And
Mark Martin seems to be having a problem down in turn 1. Several cars just went by, and he's back up in the groove now as he comes off of turn 2 and heads down the backstretch. But he slowed Morgan Shepherd coming into the pits in car number 75. We saw him backing up there a moment ago. So Morgan in for an unscheduled pit stop in the Valvoline Pontiac.
Dale Earnhardt in car number 3 trying to put pressure on Dick Trickle. for that third position. That's Rick Mast, who was running in second in car number 66. We'll go back to Rusty Wallace now, and we can see that there is a little bit more racetrack between himself and Jeff Bodine. Rusty at the tail end once again of the lead lap.
He's really driving that car. You know, he's fighting for his lap right here. He wants to get back in the lead lap, but he's really overheated the right rear tire. I saw quite a bit of smoke coming from the right rear tire. A couple laps ago, Jeff pulled right up behind him. It looks like Rusty let it cool a little bit. Now he's able to pull away just a little bit, but he's definitely driving as hard as he can.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, who reports that Bodine could have a possible problem. Jerry, what's the story?
They just began scampering over the wall here in the Bodine pit, the Levi Garrett pit. Apparently, Jeff radioed and thinks the right front tire may be going down. After seeing what happened to Ernie Irvin a few laps ago, they don't want to take any chances at all on losing a race car and injuring a driver. He is staying on the racetrack right now, but Rick Hendrick, the car owner standing beside me, he said that Jeff has radioed in just a minute ago and said they think they may have a right front tire problem. They are ready to bring him in and change 2 right side tires if they have to. Back to you.
Pretty good record there for Jeff Bodine, as he is the only driver to lead each and every race in 1989.
Andy has already made one unscheduled pit stop earlier in the race and got a lap down, but then got back into the lead lap and back in the lead, as a matter of fact. But he's slowing down now and coming into the pits. So Jeff Bodine is bringing the Levi Garrett Chevrolet down pit road, and that will give Rick Mast the lead.
Well, it started to vibrate so badly they just couldn't wait any longer. They were hoping to get a yellow flag. They didn't want to be in. So they will bring him in and they will change right side rubber. They're also jacking some weight in the car to try to tighten it down a little bit. Waddell Wilson, the rest of the Levi Garrett crew get those right side tires on. Great pit stop, he's down and away.
But he's a lap down, Jerry Punch, as he goes out of the pits. Rick Mast, who is leading, and now is going to have to fend off Dale Earnhardt, who has caught Rick Mast, as we see Jeff Bodine go out of the pits. And here is the battle for the lead.
You remember that Dick Trickle was in third a few laps ago. Not anymore. It's the 3-car of Dale Earnhardt who has passed Dick Trickle and now is in third. As a matter of fact, is pressuring the 66 car of Rick Mast for second position as the lead continues to be held by Jeff Bodine.
No, Jeff lost the lead there on that pit stop.
Yes, yeah.
Just a second ago. He's 1.5 laps down. So this is a race for the lead between Rick Mast and Dale Earnhardt.
Michael Waltrip has some smoke coming from his car as he came off of turn 4, but in fact, as he's into turn number 2 over there now, a lot of smoke coming as we watch the battle for the lead. With Michael Waltrip in the Country Time Lemonade car, one of our camera cars, is having a problem as Dale Earnhardt tries to make a move.
Here he is coming out of corner number 2. He'll race Rick Mast down the backstretch, and who will have the lead going into 3, side by side, door handle to door handle. The crowd rises to its feet. It cheers, and in some cases, it doesn't have quite as complimentary comments, but anyway, Dale Earnhardt is in the lead, and there is the 30 car carrying one of our in-car cameras, Michael Waltrip, headed for pit road.
We got to watch. He's got a brake problem. The right front brake is gone. I hope he can get stopped here in the pits. That's what the smoke was every time he put on the brakes, it blew smoke out of the brake rotor. So he has a blown O-ring on the right front brake caliper.
So they go to work on the right side of that car. You can see him working there on the right front tire in the brake assembly area. Apparently they're trying to pound out some sheet metal that may be rubbing against the tire also.
Yeah, he's been in some very close competition. You can see some battle scars on the side of that Pontiac, and apparently he was getting the tire, maybe a fender in against the tire. They had that repaired and he's back out, but he's lost the race.
Let's go down to Jerry Punch, who can show us the tire that came off of Jeff Bodine's car.
This may not be a good omen for some of those people who are on the Hoosier tires. This tire came off the right rear of Jeff Bodine's car, and you can see it began to come apart. You see the right rear, a lot of crews. I mean, just about everybody on the front part of pit road has been up here to take a look at this tire. They have been talking to Bob Newton, the president of Hoosier, and they are really concerned about tire wear here. Let's go back upstairs.
Caution is out. It's for the number 8 car of Bobby Hillen Jr., and it is
Rusty Wallace getting his lap back. He did beat Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt had run up on Rusty Wallace, but he did get his lap back, and here's fire coming from the Bobby Hillen car.
Very definite fire as Hillen drives the car down the backstretch. He's got to be feeling the heat and is going to have to be stopping that car and climbing out. It's more than it appears.
He's trying to get out of it now.
Yeah, more than just a simple oil fire. And Bobby trying desperately to climb out of that car. Now he does so. as the flames apparently have died down. But boy, a real close call there for Bobby Hillen Jr. He spun up in turn number 3 and kept going. Obviously, the engine letting go or something dropping on the exhaust headers to cause the fire. Let's go down to Jerry Punch once again in the pit area.
Dale Earnhardt brings the Goodrich Chevrolet in, and that tire we just showed you a minute ago, well, that's made them change their mind here. They are taking the Hoosier tires off and putting 4 fresh Goodyears back on the car number 3 of Dale Earnhardt. So they have watched what happened with Jeff Bodine. They can't afford to take any chances that this car hit the wall a week ago and don't want to have the same problem happen again. So they are down pit road. Great pit stop for the Goodrich crew. Harry again is also in. Benny Parsons is there. Benny?
Yes, I'm down the Harry Gant Skull Bandit pit crew, pit area, and they have also switched back to the Goodyear tires. Andy Petrie, why back to the Goodyear?
Yeah, we're having a lot of trouble with these Hoosiers right now. For a while there, we were trying to just scuff them Hoosiers, you know, get a quick caution and take them off. It looks like everybody's having so much trouble that we're just going to try some Goodyears, see if we can keep up.
Okay, and he was exerted after changing 4 tires on that car.
And Rusty Wallace in the pits. He, of course, had to go all the way around the track. He was in just in front of the leader, Dale Earnhardt, so he had to catch up to the pack before he comes in. You can see there are Goodyear tires on that car. And as Jerry Punch was talking a moment ago about the tire that came off of Jeff Bodine's car just before Bobby Hillen wrecked, Rick Wilson came in at the Kodak Film Oldsmobile. He, too, was running the Hoosier tires, and he apparently had a problem because he made an unscheduled pit stop under green.
Boy, I've been through some of those deals, guys, where you go back and forth with the tires. As you watch Bobby Hillen walk into the ambulance, the crews, you send them all over to the Hoosier tent to mount up some Hoosier tires, then you find out, oh no, the Hoosiers are no good. There's going to be a big mad rush over to the other side of the track where the Goodyear tent is set up, all mounting Goodyears now.
So Bobby Hillen Jr. in the ambulance will be taken to the infield care center and checked over by a team of doctors that is on hand here for the running of this Valleydale Meets 500. We'll return right after this. We are live at Bristol Raceway in the hills of eastern Tennessee for the Winston Cup Valleydale 500. And today's Speed World coverage is being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices. By Kit Car Wax for incredible shine and protection. And by your local Yamaha dealer, featuring the all-new FCR 600 motorcycle. Yamaha, we make the difference. Still under caution because of an accident in turn number 3 involving Bobby Hillen Jr. Let's go to Jerry Punch for a medical update.
Well, I spoke to Bobby Hillen just a minute ago. He's taken inside the infield care center here to be checked out by the physicians from the Bristol Regional Medical Center. He said primarily he's fine. He did not get burned, thankfully. The car erupted an engine going down the front straightaway, and we saw the flames here. It was a very anxious moment for Bobby Hillen. He did suffer some smoke inhalation, so he is back in the infield care center being checked out. And we will, meanwhile, go up pit road to Benny Parsons, who's standing by with Travis Carter. Benny?
Thank you very much, Jerry. I'm with Travis, the crew chief on the Rick Mast automobile. Travis, looks like it's going pretty well.
Well, it's going so far well for us, Benny. We've been able to miss the problems. We've been in the back when the problems were in front. We're in the front when the problems in the back. So all in all, it's been a good day for us, and we're hoping we can stay up toward the front the remainder of the race.
Rick said he was not feeling too good. He had the flu or something. Has he said anything about his condition?
Well, he said he felt pretty good. Of course, he's had a lot of chances, opportunities to rest some during the race. So we're in pretty good shape. We don't have to go the rest of the way green.
I saw you took a torn tire off just a moment ago. Have you switched brands?
No, we haven't had any problems with our tires. We feel like the Goodyears, the Hoosiers beat us for the first few laps, but the Goodyears seem to settle in and be about as good. If we keep the stagger right for them and keep everything running clear, we're going to be in pretty good shape.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
All right, Benny. So the lead now held by the number 3 car of Dale Earnhardt. But look at that car in second position, the number 11, as the 27 car comes in of Rusty Wallace's. The number 11 car, however, as we watch The pit work being done on Rusty Wallace's car on the right side as they work on the right front of that car. The 11 car is battered and bruised, but it's running second with Terry Labonte.
Now this is just the left side. This side looks pretty good, Bob. It's banged in at the back. The front end is banged in, and the other side, once he gets around coming off of turn 4, we'll see the right side of that car. He's running in second place now, but at the first of the race, the car was not handling well for him. Now you can see the front end bashed in on it.
And also notice that Dale Earnhardt, during this most recent pits stops, Earnhardt maintained his first position. Rick Mast lost 2 positions. He went from 2nd to 4th. Sachs from 4th to 12th. And look at Terry Labonte, who came into the pits in 7th position and now has the 2nd spot nailed down. And there it is, Ned. You can see how badly scraped up that car.
Good run. Good that he's not running at Talladega, because the aerodynamics of that car are not too good for high speed. Even though they run high speeds here, it still doesn't affect the cars as much as it would on a super speedway where they run upwards of 200 miles an hour.
Well, Rick Wilson had a good run going after starting this race from 4th position, but he's out of the race, and here's Jerry Punch again.
Well, he's out for right now, Bob. They're working on the Kodak Oldsmobile. Rick, what seems to be the problem?
Jerry, I think we broke an axle or rear end. You know, the Kodak film Oldsmobile was running good, and all of a sudden something broke, and we thought it was a flat tire for a minute. It started slipping real bad, like I had a flat tire. We come in and it broke an axle or something. We can't get it out, but we're going to try to get the rear end out and get it fixed so we can get back out and, you know, gain some points.
Are you showing any significant tire wear with the Hoosiers? You've been on the Hoosiers the whole time.
No, everything what Tony's been telling me, everything's looking good. And my car was so good, I just been riding around, not really abusing them, just trying to get some laps down. And I'll tell you what, the car worked great today, and, you know, I'm just ashamed this happened. I think we had a shot at winning it.
Well, I believe he did. A strong run early on by the Kodak Oldsmobile and Rick Wilson.
And once again, the problems that Rick Wilson is experiencing could cause a shuffle in Winston Cup points, because Rick came into this event in 6th points in the point standings, just 116 behind the leader, Alan Kulwicki. A tremendous crowd despite very cool and windy weather here in Bristol, Tennessee. Back at Bristol, where the green has just come out on lap number 227. We're nearing the halfway point of this race. The lead is held by Dale Earnhardt, number 3. Jeff Bodine, the number 5 car, is at the tail end of the lead lap. Labonte is running second. Third is the number 66 car, Rick Mast. 4th is Dick Trickle, and 5th is Mark Martin.
So Jeff Bodine was able to move away from Dale Earnhardt. You can see the distance there, so he is back in the lead lap once again after making a second green flag pit stop. So he's back in the lead lap. We're looking out of Michael Waltrip's windshield there now as he follows Morgan Shepherd, who is 4th in line. Morgan a few laps down.
Michael had some trouble with that car that put him in the pits for several laps, but now has the car up to full speed once again. He is 3 laps down, however, the field. Michael Waltrip 3 laps down.
See Morgan Shepherd trying to move around Terry Labonte, who's running in 2nd place. Morgan would like to get up there and get one of his laps back.
Labonte has had a tough year. 9th place in the Daytona 500. Things were going pretty well for him. Now he's going to lose 2nd position. Yes, indeed. Morgan Shepherd passes, and it is Terry Labonte who is back into whether he maintains a 2nd spot. Morgan did make the pass, but he's not on the lead lap.
No, he made an unscheduled. In fact, I think he made 2 unscheduled pit stops, and he's at least a couple of laps down.
He's working. That Terry Labonte is really driving that 11 car. You can see it's not holding the line. He wants to be down about 2 feet lower from where he is. There he goes down, slides right back up, and you can see as he saws on the wheel, the car kind of wiggles. There's where he wants to be. Slides up a little, slides up, gets back down, and shoots right back up again. So the car just won't stay down low where he wants it.
And now you can see up in front there that Dale Earnhardt has caught Jeff Bodine again and would like to put him a lap down.
Earnhardt sneaking up on the number 5 car. Trying to drop Jeff once again.
Earnhardt's got his work cut out for him. He's trying to get Jeff back a lap, get Jeff a lap down, and trying to keep the 75 car behind him to keep him a lap down.
75 car appears to be running pretty well as he's pressuring Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, he's running good right now. Bob, the Monte Carlo Chevrolet that both Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt are driving has won 10 of the past 12 races here at the Bristol International Raceway, so they got a good record going.
Yeah,
Now here's Earnhardt looking inside of Jeff Bodine. Oh, and
Morgan the wall reflects up Terry Labonte.
Exactly the same thing that happened to Ernie Irvin. All of a sudden, the car veers to the right.
And Dale Jarrett's in the wall on the backstretch.
Morgan took a hard hit, and Terry Labonte right there, victim of circumstances in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's Morgan Shepherd's car. Raymock Racing Machine is badly damaged as it sits just at the start-finish line, and the yellow flag is waving.
That was a hard wreck. That was a super speedway crash there.
It really was. And Jeff Bodine, of course, got back in the lead lap, and Morgan came down across the racetrack into Terry Labonte, and you can see the right rear hub has gone off of Terry Labonte's Budweiser Ford, that is now. So he'll have to come in for extensive repairs as the safety crew get there to attend to Morgan Shepherd.
Looks like we see some movement in the cockpit. Morgan may not be seriously injured here, but boy, I'm telling you, he took a real shot. Again, just all of a sudden, the car veered to the right in turn number 4.
Boy, that Terry Labonte, it tore his whole wheel off. The right rear wheel is gone. The housing broken and everything. He won't have very good brakes because there's no brakes on the rear, but he's got to be done for the day. You can see the crewmen looking and saying, man, we can't put a tire on. There's nothing to bolt it to. The hub and everything's gone.
We were just talking about how really a disappointing season this has been for Terry Labonte after the Daytona 500 9th place finish. He has finished 18th, 36th, 30th, and 18th. And has had a myriad of problems, and those guys have really got to be scratching their heads wondering what is wrong. There is the 75 car and the damage to the front end of the Valvoline Pontiac. There is a lot of fluid on the racetrack. You can see how it streamed from the top of the racetrack to the bottom as here comes the sweeper out to try to get up some of the debris. The track crews will have to clean up that moisture with the oil dry.
Yeah, that was one of those type of wrecks like Rusty Wallace had here last spring and like Ernie Irvin had earlier today. Just no warning, just hits the wall in the 4th turn.
We'll take a look at it once again and show you how this accident occurred.
And you can see Morgan Shepherd in the 75 car as Dale Earnhardt tries to move around to Jeff Bodine in the yellow car, but all of a sudden the 75 car just veers out into the wall, down into Terry Labonte, collects the right rear of Labonte's car. You can see the wheel is knocked off, and Shepherd down on the inside of the track. So apparently a tire blew as he was coming off of that 4th turn. Let's look at it at another angle now. Okay, here they are going down the backstretch into turn 3. Earnhardt in the black yellow Chevrolet number 3 trying to dip on the inside of Jeff Bodine. Here's Morgan Shepherd coming up in car number 75, and all of a sudden the car just veers into the wall, hits it very hard, then collects the car number 11 of Terry Labonte, and the wheel, the right rear wheel of Terry Labonte's car bouncing down the racetrack.
By the way, that tire continued down on into turn number 1, but it did not hit everybody. And this is what our live shot looked like, and that's from our speed shot right under the starter stand. Just a tremendous impact with the wall, and a hard hit also that Morgan Shepherd had when he collected the number 11 car. So they're getting the 75 machine off of the racetrack, and we are under our 9th caution period of the afternoon, very near the halfway point. Morgan Shepherd's badly damaged number 75 Valvoline Pontiac is dragged off the racetrack after it had an encounter with the 4th turn wall and then with Terry Labonte's car. Here's real time the way it looked from Michael Waltrip's vantage point. Waltrip very, very lucky. It happened right there in front of him, and he knew that Terry Labonte was in trouble, but he managed to avoid everything.
Well, for the guys that didn't panic and go over and get the Goodyears, I bet they're all going to go for Goodyears now. That was, let me see. Yeah, he still had Hoosiers on the 75 car. After Jeff's went down and a couple other teams had tires going down, you don't know if they're getting cut or you don't know what it is, but it sure isn't worth gambling on. The guys just, they'll all migrate over to the Goodyear tent now.
Jerry Punch, by the way, is in the infield medical center to get an update on Morgan Shepherd. We'll have that for you in just a moment. Meanwhile, there is the tire war that is going on here as some of the crews position themselves for the final half of this race. ESPN Speed World at Bristol International Raceway, and we are under yellow but about to go back to green. Morgan Shepherd in a terrific accident here on the main straightaway. Here's Jerry Punch.
Morgan, a violent impact. First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right, Jerry.
What happened out there?
Well, Jerry, first of all, it just wasn't a good day for the Valleydale Pontiac. We had a flat tire, had to come in and change out after a restart. Lost 2 laps then, went back out and run a few laps, had a right front to equalize, had to come back in, and then we was set to try to get some laps back and was running pretty hard behind Dale there. And next thing I knew, we cut a right front tire down, and the Valleydale Pontiac went straight in the wall.
Tough break for Morgan Shepherd. Fortunately, he's okay, but the Valleydale Pontiac pretty well used up. Let's go to Benny Parsons. Benny?
Jerry, I'm with Steve Neal, the crew chief on Martin's car. You switched to Hoosier, now you're back to Goodyear?
Well, after about 50 laps, we couldn't run as good on the Goodyears as we could the Hoosiers, but they're tearing up so many race cars. I'm not saying it's on account of tires, but we are real nervous about the tires, so we went back to Goodyears, which we think will run a little bit longer, but they'll be a little slower.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
246 laps are completed as we're in Michael Waltrip's car. He is right behind the leader, and Earnhardt gets a little sideways in turn number 2 and nearly loses the spot. That's Earnhardt in the lead, and now coming up on lap 247 in 3 more laps. There will be $10,000 going to the leader of the race from the right guard halfway challenge. And it looks like that Dale Earnhardt is going to successfully pick up that money. The second place car of Dick Trickle is quite a distance behind the leader. Here's lap 248. 2 more. We're at the halfway point, and $10,000 to the leader. Michael Waltrip, despite the problems that he has had during this race, is running very well in that country time car.
Yeah, Earnhardt, if he can get back around another time, he'll have that $10,000 pretty easily.
Here he is. Halfway around. And the cross flags are being showed by Harold Kinder, and $10,000 goes to Dale Earnhardt from the right guard halfway challenge.
Boy, it's hard to imagine. We've only gone halfway. We got this much more to go again to the finish. And look at all the lead changes we've had and all the action. It's some race, typical Bristol, I guess.
When the Morgan Shepherd accident happened, I mentioned that Dale Jarrett had gotten into the wall on the backstretch. For his friends and family, he is behind the wall. They're trying to repair that Hardy's Pontiac, trying to get him back out there. Dale is okay, but a lot of damage to that car.
There's the second place car, the 84 machine, driven by Dick Trickle. And behind him is the 7 car of Alan Kowicki.
Yeah, he was overheating earlier. Remember, Alan Kowicki, he was in behind the wall for quite a while, fixing what he thought was a water pump problem.
And then the 66 car, the white car there, the 33 and the number 9. That is 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Rick Mast, Harry Gant, and Bill Elliott.
Boy, it's hard to imagine that motor in the number 7 car still running as hot as it was. I mean, it was smoking everywhere that it can smoke. That motor is still out there running, and it's keeping right up with the second place car of Dick Trickle.
There's Bill Elliott, who had his best finish of 1989 just last weekend at Darlington when he came home in 6th position. Still suffering a little bit from that broken left wrist that he experienced in Daytona, but things are beginning to come around for the defending Winston Cup champion. Dick Trickle leading this group of cars.
Which really lets Earnhardt just pull away.
We have a spin up at turn 2. It's Michael Waltrip who has spun on the track and comes to rest almost in the middle of the track, but everybody gets on the binders and slows down and avoids hitting him. You can see the field passing beneath Michael. That car is headed the wrong way in the second corner.
I don't think he hit anything, did he? He just kind of spun around.
Doesn't look like the car's damaged very much. He'll pit on the backstretch.
Going right into the pits.
Well, he's pitting on the front stretch. He just pulled down there because that's where the car was headed. So he just went through the pits to get back out on the racetrack and beat the caution car. And now he'll come into the pits on the front stretch.
Well, he decides not to even do that.
Well, no.
Jerry Punch reports from pit road.
Well, Mike Waltrip made another lap to try to keep him losing a lap after he spun over there in the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac, and the crew waiting on. Apparently, he did not tag anything. We didn't see any sheet metal damage as he came by. We are waiting for Dale Earnhardt to come in. Here is the car number 84 coming down pit road, and he will make a pit stop as they will go right side rubber on that car. Meanwhile, the Country Time crew waiting for Michael Waltrip to come back down pit road. He again elects not to come down pit road, but to stay on the racetrack. So left side tires down on the car number 84 as Dick Trickle now getting getting fresh rubber on that car. They have a problem with that car. The radio key inside the car is stuck open, and Dick Trickle they can hear what he says, but he can't hear what they say. Trickle's crew trying to hurry. Jimmy Fittick and the rest of the Miller crew, it's off the jack, but it's still sitting there as they're trying to work that on that radio I just told you about, trying to get that repaired. And Trickle now finally begins to roll down pit road. They're pushing the car to come down pit road, trying to beat the caution car back out, and he will with plenty of time.
Well, but the green is about to come out, Jerry, so he's going to have to hurry to catch up to the field because they were given the one-lap signal the last time around. The pace car comes off the track, and we're about to go back to green flag racing.
Got to be impressed with Dick Trickle and Winston Cup racing so far this year, taking the place of Mike Alexander in that number 84 Stovola Brothers car. Green flag is out. Dale Earnhardt leads the Valleydale 500. Rick Mast in car number 66 is second. Bill Elliott is third. Harry Gant is in fourth, and Greg Sachs in fifth position. As now Kowicki takes Gant all the way to the wall.
Yeah, something's wrong with Kowicki's car, I believe, and Gant almost got collected up there.
Allen staying to the high side of the racetrack, letting everybody else pass below, but something else has gone wrong with that Xerox Ford. It's been a tough day for the Winston Cup points leader, and I'm sure he's saying if this is what it means being the Winston Cup points leader, I just as soon not be in the lead. Here he comes into the pits.
Michael Waltrip comes down pit road as well. He decided not to change there a moment ago, but it looks like there's a left front tire flat on the car number 7, but they're going to the right side. So we had a report it was left side, but they're going to change all 4. They're going from the Hoosier to the Goodyear.
And when you make a green flag pit stop, you lose a minimum of 2 1/4 laps. But they're just changing on the right side, it appears, and the 7 car of Kowicki goes back out onto the racetrack. But you will see, here comes Earnhardt around him, and Alan Kowicki loses another lap.
Tough day for Alan Kowicki. You know, just inherited or just really gained the point lead last week at Darlington, and it looks like he's about to lose it here today.
Now, I'm sure that we're going to get some phone calls because fans know, those that keep up with Winston Cup racing know that you can't change. If you change brands of tires, you have to change all 4. Now, I saw it. Maybe I saw it wrong. And there's trouble down in turn 1.
Phil Parsons and Sterling Marlin involved in a spin. Nobody else is involved, as drivers took some very nice evasive action. And here is Phil Parsons, now headed the right way on the racetrack, and so is Sterling Marlin. But another caution period comes out, and that's number 12. The record number of cautions at Bristol is 15.
We're hearing that.
Here's a replay of what happened down there in turn number 1.
Phil Parsons had lost it up in front of Sterling Marlin, and he tried to get his car down on him, and simply the back end went around on it. Phil sitting in the low groove, but everybody else gets by, and I believe Phil stayed in the lead lap. He's one of the drivers that still own Hoosier tires, as we see Dale Earnhardt come around. Well, what I was about to say when that happened, it appeared to me as if Alan Kowicki put Goodyear tires on the right side. I thought they took off Hoosier. Now, I could have been wrong in that, but they only changed the right side, so apparently I was wrong, because if you do change brands of tires, you have to change all 4.
A little bit earlier, we had a spin involving Michael Waltrip, and we'll have now our in-car camera go to work as we see what happened. Well, it's difficult to say exactly what happened, but as I recall, he was pretty much running by himself out there, so maybe just smoked it a little bit too hot into turn 1 and lost it.
I think that was the case. I think the back end just went around on him, and he was sitting up there on the outside. Let's go to Benny Parsons, who is with Terry Labonte.
Terry, you took one of the wildest rides I've ever seen at a racetrack just a few laps ago.
Well, the 75 car blew a tire and came off the wall and caught me right in the right rear. Just tore the rear end housing right out from under the car and, you know, spun the car around. So trying to get it fixed. It's really a shame. It was the best we've run, I think, all season long. We really had it hooked up pretty good here today.
They're working on the car. Are they just trying to get where they can load it, or are you going back out there?
I guess it depends how long it takes them to get it. If they can get it fixed and we can go back out and try to pick up some points, we'll do that.
Good to see you. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
The bad luck bug bites Terry Labonte once again, as we are now 266 laps into the Valleydale 500. We'll take this break and be right back. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Jerry Punch, and Benny Parsons back at Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee. When they qualified, Mark Martin booked the track record, setting a pace of 120.278 miles an hour. Right now, the lead is held by Dale Earnhardt in car number 3 as we look out the back glass of the Michael Waltrip car. Speeds tremendously over what they were last year because of the new paving. They weren't quite as fast as we anticipated. Some of the guys have been testing here at about 6 miles an hour over the track record because of the weather conditions we had earlier and the fact that all the rubber got washed off the track. We didn't have speeds quite as fast, but nevertheless, on a half-mile racetrack, these guys are really moving. There's the second place car driven by Rick Mast. As you can see, as we look again out the back glass of Michael Waltrip's car, the interval between first and second position as Rick Wilson is being passed.
Rick just came back out on the racetrack. He has had an extended stay behind the wall as they changed the rear gearing on the Kodak Film Oldsmobile. But Michael Waltrip has pulled away from Dale Earnhardt. He started on the inside of him on the restart, got to the first turn first, and has pulled away from him, just getting one of his laps back.
Yeah, you know, Michael Waltrip's running awful good for all the trouble he's had. He's up ahead of Earnhardt, giving us good shots from the camera out the back of the car. After all the problems he's had, as many laps as he's down, he's still running faster than Dale Earnhardt. I kind of wonder if he's not on Hoosier tires and Earnhardt on Goodyear tires. A lot of crew chiefs have said that the Hoosiers are quick right off the bat and then the Goodyears come on later. It might look that way to me right now.
I think you're right, Gary.
We'll do a pan back here with our cameras to show you the cars that are on the lead lap. Now there is Earnhardt and Rick Wilson. There's the 31 car of Jim Sauter, who is a lap down in 17th position. The number 7 car will be as many laps down because of several problems that he's experienced during the day. Now here is the second place car of Rick Mast, and you can see how close that race is with Bill Elliott. This is second and third, Rick Mast and Bill Elliott. Elliott sneaking up on the 66 Chevy, coming off the fourth corner. By the way, that is an 88 Thunderbird that Bill Elliott is driving here this weekend, but he's taken second position away from Rick Mast.
He might be a sleeper in this race. He was running back in the field for a while, but just has been patiently working his way up towards the front, now in second place.
All right, we'll continue now our pan backs. There's the 21 car of Neil Bonnet and the 33 of Harry Gant, and that is for fourth position. Right now, Neil has it, but Harry Gant, last week's winner, is right there breathing down the exhaust pipe of the 21 Wood Brothers car. Continuing the pan back, it's the 88 car now, driven by Greg Sachs. That runs in fifth position as Greg is having his good run again, just like he did last weekend at Darlington. And then behind him is the 17 car that's driven by Darrell Waltrip. He, too, is on the lead lap for the Tide Hendrick Chevrolet. The 26 car of Ricky Rudd, then the 16 of Larry Pearson. All these cars again on the lead lap, and the 28 of Davey Allison. Behind him is the number 5 car driven by Jeff Bodine, who began this race from outside row number 1. Then the 94 car of Sterling Marlin. He was involved in the incident with Phil Parsons just a few laps ago between turns 1 and 2. And there you can see that Phil is right behind the 94 car in his 55 as Davey Allison moves to the inside and tries to pass the number 16 car of Larry Pearson. Davey Allison, who took a provisional here and started from back in the pack, has successfully passed the number 16. So does Jeff Bodine and Sterling Marlin. Here comes the 55 of Phil Parsons, and then the number 27 car of Rusty Wallace. Rusty's still on the lead lap again, despite some problems that he has had earlier. There's the number 6 car of Mark Martin. He was the pole sitter for this race for the second consecutive time in Winston Cup racing, Darlington and here. Again, breaking the track record, one of 12 that did, setting a time of a speed runner of 120.278 miles an hour.
And trouble coming off crash 4. It's Eddie Bierswald.
Eddie Bierswald has banged the wall up in turn number 4. The yellow flag comes out for the 13th time, and we're just past the halfway point. Eddie's car headed the wrong direction in turn number 4. Everybody is slowed down and will be able to avoid any further contact as Eddie takes the number 23 car toward pit road, and he's the first pit there off of turn number 4, so it's not much of a drive for Eddie. San Antonio, Texas driver in the Americraft Oldsmobile as the pace car has picked up the leader once again, Dale Earnhardt. We're going to see pit stops this time, guys?
I'd say so,
yeah. He's coming down pit road. Mark Martin had pitted early. He's about to go a lap down. Let's see if he's going to be able to get back out in front of the pace car. I think he is.
Dale Earnhardt in the Goodrich Chevrolet comes in for 4-tire change. Will Lynn changing the right rear tire. You see the crew cam as Will now dances around the car and will come around and put the left rear tire on. They roll it in place. Will now looking at the tire. 4-tire change. Added 2 cans of fuel for the Goodrich Chevrolet. They're already finished. Kirk Shelburne puts the last lug nuts on. Down and away. Good pit stop for a 4-time World Championship pit crew.
But Bill Elliott beat him out, Jerry. It was a good pit stop, but Bill Elliott beat him out.
Our crew cam, by the way, went to Will Lynn, the right rear tire changer. We had it earlier on Horace Simpson, who was the tire carrier, but now Will Lynn is carrying it and providing us some very good pictures there on the pit stop.
Boy, those guys move fast, don't they? They can change all 4 tires like that and get the car. Well, it looks like Earnhardt's coming back in.
Indeed he is. He's down on the apron of the track now in the entrance to pit road, and Jerry Punch will be there again to call the stop.
Well, the reason for the lengthy pit stop was when they started to put the left front tire on, a lug nut fell down in the brake caliper, and they had to determine if they had the lug nut out of the brake caliper. So they brought Earnhardt back in. They want to check it over very, very well. Childers is looking at it. All the crew looking at it to make sure that the lug nut is okay. Also wanted to make sure the toe in is okay. Apparently Earnhardt getting together with another car on the racetrack. Looking through the crew cam, you will see that Kirk Shelburne and the crew are looking at the tires, and they look at the side of the car trying to determine if there's a problem with the car. And apparently now Shelburne talking to Earnhardt via the two-way radio. Earnhardt's still sitting here. Now he puts it back in gear and drives off. Trying to get a comment as to what the problem may be. Richard, what's the problem with the car? What are you checking?
Something broke under the front.
Well, something broken under the front end. Apparently Earnhardt said it's a lot more serious than they had originally believed, so they're possibly going to pull the car back on pit road. They may pull it behind the wall and do some work on it. So we'll check with us in a minute and see what's going to happen here in the Goodrich pit. Back to green.
Tough break for Dale Earnhardt because the green flag has come out once again, and Dale is in the pits once again. So Earnhardt, who led the race, as we have the crew cam now on Will Lynn as he unbuckles the hood on that car. They'll raise it and try to find out what broke on the car in the front end. Tough break for Dale Earnhardt as the crew cam takes you right in the motor area. The hood is, you can see, blocking our signal just a little bit. He's looking underneath the car to see if he can determine exactly what's wrong. The hood blocks the signal that is sent to our helicopter and then back down to earth. That's the reason why we had the slight breakup there. Now he's going to the toolbox to select a wrench that might correct this problem. Dale Earnhardt, there's Kirk Shelburne working there on the left front of the race car as he's inside trying to check it over and find out what's wrong. Meanwhile, out on the racetrack, the leader is Davey Allison in car number 28, and he is the 16th leader. And remember, he has come to the lead from our provisional, one of 2 provisional starts in this race. The second place car is Jeff Bodine. Running third is Sterling Marlin. Fourth is Phil Parsons, and in 5th position is the 6th car, I believe, of Mark Martin.
I can give you fans at home a little bit to look for. Davey Allison's car, if you look at it close when he gets to the back straightaway, has like white wall rings on his tire. That's a Goodyear tire. The Goodyears paint the white letters that say Goodyear a lot brighter than, say, Jeff Bodine, who's on Hoosiers right behind him. Looks like he has black wall tires. That's Hoosiers and Goodyears. Jeff Bodine, black wall tires, has Hoosiers. Davey Allison with the white walls has Goodyears. You can spot that from your home steps.
And one thing that makes the Goodyears look quieter, there's more writing on it. The words Goodyear and Eagle, where there's only one word with the Hoosier, and so that makes it much easier to see. That's why we can just look at on the racetrack many times and see what brand of tires they are running.
As you can see, Davey Allison, Goodyears, Jeff Bodine, Hoosiers, and the 94 car Sterling Marlin, Hoosiers. You can tell black walls versus white walls.
So Davey Allison, Jeff Bodine, Sterling Marlin, Phil Parsons, and Mark Martin are the top 5 after 295 laps. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon for live NASCAR Winston Cup racing. Today from Bristol International Raceway, Bristol, Tennessee, and we are 200 laps from the end of the competition. It is Sterling Marlin in the number 94 car that's running in 3rd. And you can see as he tries to let Jeff Bodine know that he's back there and would like that 2nd spot.
Bumped him just a little bit. Now he's trying to work down on the inside, but there's no room there. Davey Allison, of course, leading, and Jeff Bodine running 2nd. Phil Parsons back in the thick of it after that spin, running in 4th place. And then right behind him is Mark Martin. And Martin certainly has an extra challenge here today as a result of winning the pole. If he could win the race, he'd pick up $30,400 extra from Unical. The Unical 76 challenge. That is, if the driver wins the pole, wins the race.
So they're the first 5 cars running nose to tail. Davey Allison in number 28, the leader of the race. This is the second consecutive race that he has led. He also led a few laps at Darlington last weekend. Now, let's go to Jerry Punch on pit road, who can update us on what is the problem with Dale Earnhardt's car. Jerry?
We're with Richard Childers, the car owner. Richard, what's the problem with the car now?
Well, when he came in the pits, we hit the tire off a little Waltrip's car there and bent the front end, not bent the toe end, and we just tried to fix it earlier and it couldn't, so we had to come back in and fix it.
So a bent left front tie rod, and apparently on pit road, Earnhardt, as he was coming in, hit the tire off the Mike Waltrip car, just up pit road from him, and that's what caused the problem.
Of course, they said the little Waltrip, Michael is the biggest of the 2 Waltrip that's on the racetrack right now, and also Michael Waltrip is the fastest race car on the racetrack. He again passed Davey Allison just after the green came out and has ran off and left him, so he has gotten another of his laps back with the problems that he had earlier. So Michael Waltrip is getting himself back in the thick of this thing, really flying.
All right, let's take a look now at our Napa race summary. The leader, 28, Davey Allison. He had led 14 of the 300 laps at an average speed of 70.873. 16 leaders, 20 lead changes, 16 cars on the lead lap, and we've had a total of 13 cautions and 77 laps run under that caution flag. Out of the race, Ken Schrader with an accident very early. Butch Miller and Ernie Irvin also involved in accidents, as were Hud Strickland and Brett Bodine. And the 94 car goes to second, passing Jeff Bodine. Also out of the contest via crashes, Bobby Hillen Jr., Morgan Shepherd, and Terry Labonte. All drivers okay, but we have seen some pretty hellacious crashes here. The 94 car of Sterling Marlin is in second position, following now the Davey Allison number 28 car. It's been a good run for Sterling Marlin, despite the fact that he was involved in a spin over in turn number 2 with Bill Parsons. Jeff Bodine in car number 5 is in third position. So we've got some great competition going on here, and we've still got just a little less than 200 laps to go in the Valleydale 500 from Bristol.
We're in the Davey Allison pit. After the latest caution flag, Davey brings the Ford in. Robert Yates drops the right side, comes around to the left. The left nuts are already off, and on goes 4 new Goodyears. Gas man is already, as soon as they tighten the lug nuts, he's ready to go. The car is down, and Jerry Punch taking it away.
Jeff Bodine getting left side tires. Levi Garrett Chevrolet. He is racing down pit road with Dale Earnhardt and Davey Allison. And it looks like Bodine will beat Davey Allison back on the racetrack. Remember, he must stay below that white line going around the turn 1 and 2. So Bodine will be the leader as far as pit stops are concerned.
And the number 3 car beat everybody out, but he's 13 laps down. This is the reason why we are under caution. Dale Jarrett spinning coming off of corner number 4.
It looks like he might have had a tire go down or just lost it. I'm not sure. Dale had hit the wall on the backstretch earlier after blowing a right front tire, and he spins here, bringing out the caution. No damage to his car.
Well, these caution periods allow us to take our commercial break so that we can get those out of the way for the green flag action. And here's another one. The green has just come out once again at Bristol for resumption of the Valleydale 500, and the lead is held by the number 9 car of Bill Elliott. Running second is the 21 of Neil Bonnet, and third is the 16 of Larry Pearson, then Greg Sachs and Harry Gant. Two cars, however, are ahead of Bill Elliott in the red number 9. They are the number 30 car of Michael Waltrip, the yellow one, and the black number 3 of Dale Earnhardt. But Earnhardt is some 13 laps down to the leader.
Now, Mike Waltrip had been 5 laps down to the leader, but he has now made up 3 of them, so he's only 2 down if he can stay out in front of Bill Elliott.
Waltrip moving to the inside of Dale Earnhardt off of corner number 2 down the backstretch into 3. Michael passes Dale.
Well, that 30 car has been getting stronger and stronger as the day goes on. Every time it seems like he's out for the day, spins out and gets in a couple real close scrapes, and now he's really regaining several laps.
And earlier he had on Hoosier tires, and we thought that might be the reason that he was running, but I believe he has Goodyear on the car now, Gary, and he's still running very fast.
You're right, Pat.
So there are the cars that are ahead of the leader, and there is the leader, Bill Elliott, in car number 9. Now the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip involved with some racing. There's Jim Sauter at number 31, Mark Martin at number 6, Rick Wilson at number 4, and 66 car of Rick Mast. Darrell in 17 is running unofficially in 10th position. Rusty Wallace there in the number 27, as also here are Jeff Bodine at number 5, Davey Allison at 28, who was a leader until just a moment ago, and also Sterling Marlin. Let's go down to Jerry Punch, who has a report on the number 5 Bodine car.
Well, Jeff Bodine was very, very lucky that Dale Jarrett spun and called that last caution flag. Let me show why. Bodine was running in 3rd place, and he had a hole in the right rear tire. The tire was going down. He didn't know it. Had he not come in on that lap, this tire would have been completely flat on the rim, and Bodine could have ended up in the wall. So a lucky day so far for Jeff Bodine.
Well, of course, he has fresh tires on now. Bob, there were 4 cars that did not pit during that last caution. Bill Elliott did not. He's running first. And Neil Bonnet, who's running second, did not. Greg Sachs, who is running third, did not. And Harry Gant, who is running fourth, did not. So those front 4 cars are on tires that have been on there for a little while, but they felt that they were okay, and so they just stayed out there.
Well, certainly Neil Bonnet and Greg Sachs have both moved in on Bill Elliott.
There is really 10 or 13 cars maybe that could still win this race. This late, at these late stages in the race, a lot of guys like Darrell Waltrip don't know. Is he just keeping his nose clean, staying out of trouble? Here's Neil Bonnet, Greg Sachs, Bill Elliott. I don't know about Bill. He seems to fall back a little bit. But how many of these other guys that are staying back just because they want to stay out of trouble and are going to save something for the
Coming into the Valleydale 500 last year, Dale Earnhardt was the points leader. Eventual champion Elliott, who is a leader at this point, was sixth in points, 98 behind. Now in 1989, he currently is in 13th place in the point standings, 189 behind Alan Kowicki. So Bill Elliott with still a long way to go in his defense of the Winston Cup, but nevertheless, his last 2 races have been very, very impressive. Now, however, here's Neil Bonnet trying to make a move on Bill Elliott, coming off of corner number 4. They cross the line, and Elliott has the advantage, but Neil really trying to wrestle that first place away from Elliott.
Well, you can see 4 cars there running very tightly. Behind Neil is the car number 88 of Greg Sachs, and then Harry Gant. That's the 4 position that we're seeing on the screen.
There they are, the first 4, nose to tail on the racetrack. Once again, Neil Bonnet closes in on Bill Elliott in corner number 4. Can't take away the top spot, though. They move high to pass the 67 car. That's driven by Brad Teague and the You Can Rent Pontiac. You Can Rent people are giving us kind of a trial basis as to whether they want to stay involved in Winston Cup competition. But for this race, You Can Rent on the side of that 67 Buddy Arrington car driven by Brad Teague.
And now the others have caught up. There's Larry Pearson running in 5th place. He has caught them, and right behind him is Jeff Bodine. So we got a freight train of cars. In fact, the first 10 are within striking distance. The 11 car of Terry Labonte has come back out as we see Neil Bonnet take the lead, and Bill Elliott getting past twice there as Greg Sachs goes by 2.
Elliott just a little bit high going out of corner number 2, and that was all that Neil Bonnet and Greg Sachs needed to pass. Now Elliott finds himself in 3rd position and being pressured by last week's winner Harry Gant. Also right there is the 16 car of Larry Pearson, and he's had a fine run.
He has. He got a lap down as a result of being involved in the spin earlier in the race, but he got that lap back by being out in front of the leaders when a caution came out. Here's Jeff Bodine trying to get on the inside of Larry Pearson, but Pearson has had a good run as a rookie.
Well, it's going to be decision time here in about 65 laps for the crew chiefs. They got to decide what kind of tires they want to have on for the last 100 laps of the race. NASCAR has a rule that says whatever tires you have on with 100 laps to go, you have to keep that brand on. You can change tires, but they have to be the same brand. And in fact, NASCAR comes through the pits and makes the crew chief move the other brand out of the pit area, so they won't be switching to one tire or the other in the last 100 laps.
Here is Harry Gant moving to the inside of Bill Elliott and taking over third position. So Elliott is slipping back here. And Jeff Bodine now moves up to challenge Bill. So Elliott has gone from first to fourth in about 5 or 6 laps.
Yes, he has. And Jeff Bodine has on fresher tires than those 4 cars in front of him. Now Greg Sachs trying to make a move for the lead in turn 1.
Boy, Greg Sachs has really shown a lot. And here comes Jeff Bodine along too. And he goes into third position. Here comes Sterling Marlin in 94. Now he's in 6th. Look at Bill Elliott, who's caught up top in 11 spots. Last week, just a tremendously impressive run by Greg Sachs in car number 988. There is Bill Elliott, who again is caught up top and lost several positions. Here comes Rusty Wallace also. There may be a problem with this Elliott car. Jerry, what can you tell us?
We are down in the Elliott pit with Dan Elliott, who is standing here. Dan, the car is backsliding. Is there a problem with the car?
Not that I know of. Bill's not said anything on the radio. I imagine that a wrist is bothering him a little bit. Tires may be giving up a little bit. Just have to wait and see.
They don't really know what the problem may be, but all they do know is that Bill Elliott is backsliding through the field.
Well, now here is Elliott and Rusty Wallace going to the inside of Neil Bonnet, who got caught up on the higher groove, and he still is, as a matter of fact. Here's Alan Kowicki below him. Now he'll settle down into that lower groove.
Boy, there's some strange things going on out there. Just the one car will be fast for a moment, then all of a sudden everybody blows them off. But Greg Sachs holding off Harry again, at least at the moment.
There you can see the 89 results for Greg Sachs. 40th, 9th, 26th, and 34th. And that 25th place you see there reflects his accident at Darlington, and certainly not the way that he competed before that crash. We'll be right back. We see it time and time again when we come to the high ranks of Bristol International Raceway. Great door handle to door handle and nose to tail racing, and that's what we've got with 6 cars, the first 6 cars running nose to tail on the racetrack. Harry Gant has just gone in the lead, passing the 88 car, Greg Sachs. 3rd is Bodine, 4th is Sterling Marlin, 5th is Larry Pearson, and 6th is Jim Sauter. Here's a replay of how Greg Sachs lost the lead.
He went a little high going into turn 1, and Harry Gant dipped down on the inside, took advantage of it. Here comes Jeff Bodine, but he couldn't quite make the pass that time. Let's go to the pits, and Jerry Punch says there's something wrong, or no, Harry Gant seems to be going strong, Jerry.
Well, Ned Harry is running very strong, and you know, in this day and age of specialized cars, they have cars for short tracks, cars for intermediate tracks, and speedway cars. Harry Gant's crew, run by Leo Jackson and Andy Petrie, have one car they like the best. This car they have here in Bristol, Tennessee. It's the same car they won with last week at Darlington here on ESPN. The same car they ran in Atlanta. The same car they ran in Richmond. And the same car they ran in Rockingham. They ran this car 4 in the first 5 events. It's Harry's favorite car. And I'll tell you the way he's running right now, it's going to be his favorite car for quite some time. Gentlemen?
Great racing here. Greg Sachs, Larry Pearson, and the 31 car of Jim Sauter. This is for 4th and 5th spot. The 31 car, driven by Sauter, has been down 1 lap on 3 different occasions during pit stops, but has battled back each time.
He's having a very good run in the Bob Clark Motorsports Slender U Oldsmobile, or Pontiac, that is, this year. And here's Larry Pearson making a pass on Greg Sachs. Greg's tires apparently has given up on the Crisco Pontiac.
Well, he was the leader, but now finds himself back into 6th position. Not only new pavement, Gary, but I think just Bristol in general, when you run this hard on this kind of a high bank racetrack, those tires just don't last long.
Well, definitely with the new pavement, but any time that you run as hard, you could almost see Greg Sachs just driving that car as hard as it would go, and it really takes the edge off the tires. And a car like Harry Gant maybe wasn't abusing his tires quite so much, and was able, as soon as Greg Sachs' tires got hot, was able to move on by him. And then really it was a matter of time before the rest of the lead pack went on by Greg Sachs.
Watching 4th position here and 5th. Jim Sauter in 31 and 15, where there's 16, Larry Pearson. They approach some slower traffic, Eddie Bierschwell. Meanwhile, It is a good battle for second position. And here is Harry Gant, who is trying to put a lap. In fact, he does put a lap on Rick Mast.
I wonder if he's getting tired, Bob.
I wonder the same thing, Ned.
You know, he was running up there in second place not too long ago. He had the flu, was yesterday, was just feeling terrible. In fact, Dale Jarrett was going to drive his Busch Grand National car in the Bud 200 had that race been run. But I believe that Rick Mast is getting very tired and weak right now.
By the way, that Busch Grand National race that was postponed yesterday because of rain will be run at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, local time here in Bristol. They originally had scheduled it for a morning start, but Larry Carrier, the owner of the track, has crashed up at turn 3, involves Phil Parsons. Just to finish that thought, Larry Carrier, the owner of the track, decided that it would be much better for the fans if they started at 1 o'clock, so that's the time the Busch Grand National race will start tomorrow. We bring out our, yes, this is the record-tying 15th caution flag of the day, and the reason for it, Phil Parsons spinning in turn number 2.
And when we say record, it ties the record here at Bristol for number of caution flags. The all-time record is 17 at Martinsville, and so we're approaching that all-time record.
I think we may be in pretty good shape to break that record today. Only 2 more and we'll tie it. 3 more would break the all-time number of caution flags during a Winston Cup race.
Well, this is decision time for the crew chiefs. Whatever tires they put on might be the ones for the end. Let's go to Benny Parsons in Greg Sachs' pit.
Greg Sachs is making a gesture to the pit crew, trying to get their attention, but he can't. I don't know what he's trying to tell them. They're changing 4 tires, putting the 4 Hoosiers back on, and away he goes.
Greg Sachs moving out. Here's Harry Gant.
Harry Gant has already gotten right side tires, and now Charlie Presley, Andy Petrie, and the Skoll crew will change left side rubber. Now, Gant has been Goodyear all the way. He's been having the Goodyear tires on at the beginning of the race. They put 4 more Goodyear people. They're down and away. Good pit stop for the lead car, Harry Gant.
He pulls out of the pits ahead of Rusty Wallace and Sterling Marlin.
Jeff Bodine is the leader now in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet.
And I believe in second position would be Greg Sachs. So the caution out once again as they clean up the debris over in turn number 3 caused by a Phil Parsons spin. We are back at Bristol International Raceway and the Valleydale 500 Winston Cup race.
Greg Sachs is the leader in the blue car. Rick Mast trying to unlap himself as Dale Earnhardt is already pulled out in front, and Neil Bonnie in front of Greg Sachs. Neil had some problems, made a green flag pit stop, so he's several laps down. But
well, when we went to break, Jeff Bodine was in the lead, but he made a pit stop, and that put Greg Sachs in the lead. However, he had made a pit stop earlier. Let's go to Benny Parsons, who can show us the tire that came off of Greg's car.
This is the tire that came off the right rear of the Greg Sachs automobile. I'd asked J.C. Elder on the green flag what was wrong with his car. He said the car's a little bit loose. Folks, when we talk about blistered tires, this is exactly what we're talking about. The rubber comes off the tire. It blisters, it comes off the tire. Greg Sachs got lucky. He rode on this tire until the caution flag came out. He was able to make a pit stop for free. He's now leading the race. Some days you're hot, some days you're not.
Benny, a car that is not leading right now, but doing an excellent job, is Mike Waltrip. You're seeing the car on the screen, the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac. Now, Mike Waltrip was 4 laps down. He is the fastest thing on the racetrack right now. The crews have been clocking him at a little over 17.5 seconds a lap. He has now made up 3 laps and is being shown 1 lap down as he moves beneath the Mark Martin car in turn 2. Mike Waltrip really on the move. Should get interesting with our in-car camera if he makes this lap up and runs for the win here in the last 100 laps.
Shown in 15th position.
Trouble over in turn 3.
Dick Trickle spins in turn number 3 at just about the same point that Phil Parsons did a few laps ago. So this will bring out caution number 16, and we have a new record for number of cautions at Bristol International Raceway, and now we're only 1 away from tying the all-time yellow flag mark set at Martinsville a few years ago. There's Trickle in the number 84 car, who was running in the top 5 earlier today.
Apparently he just spun around. Doesn't appear to be too much damage to his Miller Buick. So he'll bring it into the pits and let him check it over.
He was 9th before the spin. Now brings it in, and they'll check the car over. Probably change tires, at least on the right side. There it is, the record number of cautions for Bristol Raceway, 16 today, and we've still got 125 laps to go in this one. We're at lap 375.
Now those folks who have early flights, they got to be getting worried about it right now.
And yours truly is among them.
Sorry about that, Bob.
Okay, Trickle roars back out of the racetrack, gives the fans an opportunity to get up on their feet and stretch a little bit in some sections of the grandstand as they're watching great action here in the Valleydale 500. Back under green, the Valleydale 500 with Greg Sachs in car number 88 leading the parade down the backstretch. Right behind him, though, is that car that we talked about a few minutes ago, Michael Waltrip in the country time number 30, right now being challenged by the 66 of Rick Mast as they square off going into turn number 2. Now, Michael is going to be caught in that high groove and may lose a couple of spots here. He is again trying to make up one more lap. He has only one more to make up before he'll be on the lead lap.
Doesn't seem to be running quite as fast now as he was a little bit earlier in the race, Bob.
Almost acts like he has a tire going down. He went straight past the 66 car right on the green flag, and now he's falling back, losing a lot of position.
Yeah, it looked like under the caution that the Goodyear was almost rubbed off of the right front tire of that car, and he had gotten in a little bit of a scramble on the restart prior to this, and he might have a tire going down.
Second place in the race is the 33 car driven by Harry Gant. Meanwhile, here's Bill Elliott, Jim Sauter, 21 of Neil Bonnet, Jeff Bodine is there. So is the 84 car of Dick Trickle, as the number 9 car of Elliott is well within the top 10. There's Mark Martin right ahead of Bill now in the number 6 car of pole sitter for the race.
Wilson going back into the pits. He was in for an extended stay. Now he's back in the pits once again. So it's not been a good day for him and his team, which is located just only about 10 miles from the speedway here.
Mark Martin in 6th position in car 6. Then Bill Elliott. Then Jim Sauter. And the 21 of Neil Bonnet. Look at the damage on that car. A lot of paint missing on the left side. Neil, remember, is a lap down. He's shown in 15th position. Is not battling for position within this group. The number 5 car of Jeff Bodine is, however.
You know, Jeff Bodine, you watch him, at some points in the race, he was just fast as could be. And now it looks like he's almost settled in kind of a wait and see deal. Well, if I charge to the front and caution comes out, I lose everything I gain. Why don't I just sit here for another 20 or 30 laps and kind of wait and see what happens?
Plus the fact, Gary, he's still on the Hoosier tires, and there have been some cars with trouble with those tires this afternoon, so he might be just sort of cooling it with those. Now, in about 11 more laps, if he stays on the Hoosiers, that's what he's going to have to finish the race on. The last 100 laps, they have to run whatever tires they have on at that point.
Here's another record that we have broken today. Number of lead changes, 26. Unbelievable. Not only have we broken that, there's Jim Sauter going to the inside of the number 9 car of Bill Elliott and picking up a position. Elliott, it seemed, just again got a little high on the racetrack, and that was all that Jim Sauter needed.
You know, when they talked to Ernie Elliott in the pit area, he said that maybe Bill's wrist is bothering him, and I would think that maybe that would be the case.
Look at Jim Sauter. He is really moving in that car number 31. Here's Bill Elliott now trying to take the measure of Mark Martin, and Jeff Bodine comes right along with him. Jim Sauter, though, you can see, has pulled away from Elliott, just passed him a lap or two ago, and has just pulled away from him. That car is really running here today.
Without question, the finest run that this car has ever had. He did have a top 10 finish earlier this year at Rockingham, and he also had a top 20 finish at Darlington Jets last weekend in 19th. But Jim Sauter from the seat of Wisconsin giving that slender U Pontiac a real run. Now here is Greg Sachs, the leader in 88, feeling some pressure from Alan Kulwicki in 7 and Dale Earnhardt in number 3. But remember, those cars are not on the lead lap. Second place car is the 4th in line there, Harry Gant.
Yeah, Gant got behind as a result of the pit stop. Now he's pitting on the front stretch. Greg Sachs was pitting on the back stretch. Greg got out first, and now Gant has worked his way back up to second.
And we had a position change just a second ago as the number 94 car of Sterling Marlin went into 4th, dropping Rusty Wallace in 27 back to 5th. And the number 94 car of Marlin is catching the 16 car of Larry Pearson.
That 94 car of Sterling Marlin looks like it has that long run setup. You know, it doesn't take off early after the restarts, but after they're done on the track a while, the 94 car starts picking them off and moving up. He's probably hoping for a long stretch of green here where he can get up to the front. Some of these other cars, they jump away real quick on the restart, but then they start to fade a little later.
Well, Larry Pearson finds himself now in 3rd spot in that number 16 car. He's right behind Rick Mast. And now he moves to the inside of Mast in turn number 4 and passes. Here comes Sterling Marlin right behind him, but Marlin and Pearson are battling for that 3rd position. Larry Pearson's finishes this year. He had a 6th place at the Richmond 400 on the short track, and a couple of other top 20 finishes at 14th and Rockingham. And here is Sterling Marlin taking over that spot as he shoved Larry Pearson to the high side.
I don't think Larry Pearson was expecting that. It surprised him almost, it looked like.
Meanwhile, it is still Greg Sachs in the Crisco Pontiac car number 88 that is leading the Valleydale 500. We'll be back with more of our live coverage right after this message. At Bristol International Raceway, where Greg Sachs leads the Valleydale 500. And the number 88 Crisco car. Right behind him is Dale Earnhardt, but he is 10 laps behind due to a problem that they experienced a few laps ago. There are 13 cars on the lead lap, and the 3rd car there in your screen is the 33 car of Harry Gant, last week's winner at Darlington. He seems just to be sitting there waiting for his time.
I think he is, Bob. He's running a very good, smart race, not taking any unnecessary chances. But look at this 31 car of Jim Sauter blow around Rusty Wallace. That will move him into the 4th position. Jim Sauter has been working on the car himself the last couple of weeks. Charlie McCabe, who was the crew chief on that car, has left in the last couple of weeks. And Jim Sauter, who has a lot of experience at building and working on his own cars in the Midwest, has been working on the car, and by golly, he's hit the setup here today.
We talked about the Michael Waltrip car being the fastest on the racetrack a few laps ago. I believe that Sauter has the fastest car now. Here is Dale Earnhardt trying to unlap himself, but he cannot do it. Now he moves to the inside of Sachs, and indeed Dale Earnhardt does get one lap back, and here comes Harry Gant to challenge for the lead. He moves to the inside of Sachs, and they touch. They both maintain control, however. Coming out of the corner, it's going to be Sachs that leads lap number 412. But Harry Gant is poised and ready to take over the top spot. He does. Here comes Sterling Marlin in 2nd position.
Marlin was pretty far behind those 2 cars. He has caught them now and has moved into 2nd position as Greg Sachs drops back to 3rd.
If I was a crew chief on that car of Greg Sachs, I'd be worried about the tires going away. You know, what we saw earlier was the right rear blistering on it after it's almost a replay of what we saw about 20 laps ago. Greg Sachs' right rear tire must be giving up again.
Now here is the replay of how Harry Gant moved to the inside of Greg and took away the lead.
Well, they got together a little bit going into turn 3. You can see the right front of Gant's car get on the just touching Greg Sachs' car. Both of them stayed under control, and of course he made the pass. And here Sterling Marlin has blown around Harry Gant.
So Sterling Marlin now takes over the top spot.
Now he's another of the drivers that is on Hoosier tires, and right now they're certainly working for him.
Never a Winston Cup win for Sterling Marlin, looking for number 1 today. But I'll tell you, he has run consistently all year long, and we'll replay how he got the lead from Harry Gant.
Well, he comes off the turn, dips down on the inside, had a better run coming off the turn than Gant did have, and just blew right on past him.
So it is Marlin now that is leading this race. I really don't understand why Harry would, after trying so hard to get the lead, and then Sterling Marlin got it from him.
Well, he didn't fight it too much. Gant didn't fight Marlin too much. Maybe he's still just sort of sitting there riding at this moment. There's still more than 80 laps to go, and he still has him in his sights. So who knows? Of course, Marlin runs this racetrack very, very well.
Now we're seeing a battle for 3rd position as Jim Sauter in the 31 car is challenging Greg Sachs. Sauter Just an unbelievable run. Benny Parsons, you're down there in the 31-car area. This guy's had a great run this afternoon.
Bob Jenkins, I tell you, it is absolutely wonderful to see this pit crew. Every time he goes by, they wave, they jump up, they scream, they clap their hands. Add up, baby Jim. They are excited.
And should be, because he now is in a position to take over third from Greg Sachs.
What a boost it would be for this team if he continues to run this way or even possibly win the race. He gets a little loose coming off the turn there, but they're looking for sponsorship for that car. Bob Clark has underwritten the Bills for several years. He's built a good team over in Crossville, Tennessee. I visited his shops about 2 months ago and was very impressed with the type of facilities they have. They said if we can just get us a good sponsor, said we're ready to challenge the guys that are running up front. Well, they're challenging them without that sponsorship. Here, Sterling Marlin slowing down on the inside. He's coming into the pits, and Harry Gant is taking back over the lead.
We have a crash, meanwhile, as Phil Parsons has once again tasted the cement wall here at Bristol. This time, nipping it coming out of corner number 2. Let's go down to Jerry Punch.
Unscheduled pit stop for Sterling Marlin in the Sunoco Oldsmobile. They apparently had a right side tire going down.
Well, tough break for him, Jerry. He went a lap down as the caution is now coming out.
Boy, just bad timing. Oh, and they didn't get the wheels on at all. He loses both. Hits one of them himself. The other one goes bounding down the racetrack. It's still bounding, going down the backstretch. Well, they had apparently loosened the tires on the left side and sent him on his way without tightening them. But I was going to say it was a tough break for Sterling anyway. He came in, and just as he came in, the yellow flag dropped because of Phil Parsons' incident with the wall, and now Sterling Marlin sits helplessly. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
What happened to Sterling Marlin? They changed the right side tires, and apparently they came around to change the left side tires, and the left rear tire changer got gas splashed in his eyes. He couldn't see. He had the lugs already off the left rear tire, and the car took off. Sterling Marlin took off down pit road. They couldn't get him stopped, and the lugs completely off the left rear tire.
Yeah, you can see that left rear wobbling, Jerry, as he was coming out of the pits, and then as he was about to go back on the racetrack, it came off and spinning him around, and then the car bounded back. The tire hit him back again. Here's Rusty Wallace in the pits. In fact, just about everybody in as Wallace gets right side tires on the Kodiak Pontiac, and I'm sure they'll go around to the left side. They will change those tires. And here is the person that apparently got gas in his eye on the Sterling Marlin crew.
Boy, that's a tough deal. You know, they were committed to a 4-tire stop. Yellow comes out. They drop the jack, away he goes, trying to keep from going too many laps down.
There you can see our doctor, Jerry Punch, going over to see if he can lend some medical assistance after he reported to us what had happened. But it looks like the individual is going to be all right. We'll be back with more right after this. Back at Bristol International Raceway, the original caution was for Phil Parsons hitting the wall in turn number 2, but then Sterling Marlin came in for a 4-tire change and went out without the left side tires being fastened. So they are dragging his car off the track. Meanwhile, Phil Parsons' car is already in the garage area, and they're looking it over to see if he can get back in the race. But boy, look at the battle scars on that car. There is Marlin's positioned at the bottom of turn number 2. Now, when he was in for the pit stop, he went off prematurely, took off out of the pits prematurely, and the tire changer got splashed in the face. There it is, getting splashed in the face with some gasoline. That's Gene Beehart that experienced this gas being splashed in his face. And now watch what happens when Sterling pulls onto the racetrack, gets into the banking. Those left tires just roll off the race car.
Both of them. Boy, that is an embarrassing situation. Let's go back to Jerry Punch.
Well, apparently miscommunications here in the Sunoco pits, and Gene Beehart is the fellow who will suffer from it. They've taken the rights. They've taken him over to the infield care center there to get the eyes irrigated out. Annie Schrader, who is Ken Schrader's wife, who's also a registered nurse, happened to be standing behind the pits, and we pointed Gene over to her, and she walked him up to the infield care center to get that eye irrigated out. He'll be okay. The eye's burning a little bit irritated, but it could have been a lot more serious than that. But the trouble for them in the car now is that the car is coming down on the hook. Gentlemen?
All right, thank you, Jerry. Let's take a look at a pit stop summary here from this 17th tying a record number of caution flags, 17 here this afternoon. And our pit stop summary shows that Gant went in first and came out in 9th position. He lost 8 spots. Greg Sachs moved up 1 from 2nd to 1st. Jim Sauter was in 4th and out in 6th. He lost 2. And Jeff Bodine really gained as he came into the pits in 6th position and came out in 2nd. Let's go down to Benny Parsons, who's in the Jim Sauter pit.
I'm with Bob Clark, the owner of the car, and now the crew chief, right, Bob?
I guess. I'm the only one that's doing it.
It's a great run for you today.
Well, we've had everything possible break in the pits today, but the car's working great. I guess I'd rather have that. Jimmy's doing a heck of a job.
He is doing a great job, but this is his kind of racetrack, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, he's an ASA short tracker from way back.
He's out of the mold of Dick Trickle and rest stop. You guys are getting excited. Can you pull this thing off?
Oh, hey, I think we're in good shape. If it stays green the rest of the way, we're ready.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
430 laps will be complete when they come down to catch the green flag. Here it is. The leader is Greg Sachs in car number 88. Bodine is 2nd. Bill Elliott 3rd. The 84th Dick Trickle is in 4th position, and in 5th is Mark Martin. On the racetrack, though, it is the number 3 car of Dale Earnhardt, who is ahead of the leader, again trying to get one of his laps back.
He has made up several laps since he lost all of those laps with the problem that he had. He has certainly been one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, and Sterling Marlin comes back out now after getting his car finally back to the pits and getting service on it. Here's Michael Waltrip as we see him trying to move on the outside of Rick Mast.
The accelerator. Here's Bill Elliott in number 9, moving to the inside of Rick Mast as Elliott runs in 3rd.
Well, that 30 car's been running good. It didn't run real good that last segment of the race, but it looks like he's taken off again like he was earlier. He's pulling away from Bill Elliott there and gaining on Jeff Bodine up ahead of him.
I think he's just 1 lap down, so he should be running about 13th position. 12 cars still in the lead lap. Unbelievable here at Bristol after 434 laps.
It has been a record-setting day. 32 lead changes among 16 drivers and a record-tying number of caution periods for a Winston Cup race at any racetrack. 93 laps have been run under the caution, almost a 5th of the race, and we are still about 65 laps away from the end.
I bet you if there was anybody keeping records on laps made up during a race, we'd have set one here today also, because I'd say there's probably about 25 laps that have been made up under these caution periods we've had.
Here's the number 27 car, also the number 6 of Mark Martin. First of all, that's Neil Bonnet there at number 21. 6 of Mark Martin, the 31 of Jim Sauter. Then comes Rusty Wallace, Larry Pearson, and the 33 car of Harry Gant. There goes Mark Martin looking to the inside of Neil Bonnet. Goes a little sideways there, coming off the corner, but he successfully passes. Here comes Jim Sauter and Rusty Wallace and Larry Pearson.
There's Neil Bonnet a lap down. Here comes Harry Gant around. Ricky Rudd, boy, once you get that outside groove, that freight train just comes on by. And Michael Waltrip up there trying to get around Jeff Bodine. They got tangled as they came off of turn 2. We see him now that Michael is behind Jeff Bodine, but he got a nose up alongside of him as he came off of turn 2, but they touched a little bit. Michael had to get back out of the throttle, and now he's going to try it on the inside once again, but not room enough that time.
What a run for Michael Waltrip. You got to be pulling for him. He's that close to getting back into the lead lap. And look at here, Harry Gant going back around Larry Pearson again.
And that means that Harry Gant now moves into 8th position. Larry Pearson back to 9th. So last week's winner has got some making up to do. He's run a strong race all day, though. There's the 31 and the 27 running 6th and 7th, Sauter and Rusty Wallace.
What do you guys think? Is there any car out here without body damage? I think everybody's been bumped a little bit or bumped around a little bit.
The battle scars of Bristol are definitely showing. Now here's Greg Sachs, but he is being pressured by Jeff Bodine in car number 5. The freight train is definitely forming, and Bill Elliott in car number 9 is also there in 3rd spot.
Yeah, he's caught up to them. Now Michael Waltrip, he's just looking for a place to go. He wants to get back around them. I think he has the speed and the power if he could just get an opportunity to move around them to get back in the lead lap.
Well, that car of Greg Sachs really jumps out on the restarts, but then he starts slowing down just a little bit, or else the other guys pick up a little bit and start gaining on him. We've seen it over and over again.
Greg Sachs looking for his second Winston Cup win of his career. His first Winston Cup win was at the Firecracker 400 a few years ago. Crew chief Gary Nelson. Remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember that well. That was a big day for us. I know Greg Sachs is driving today like he was down there in Daytona. Really aggressive. You can tell he's got a lot of determination. He's putting his foot to the floor and really driving the car.
Jeff Bodine in second position. Both Sachs and Jeff Bodine are veterans of the Modified Tour. Here's Jim Sauter moving around the number 6 car of Mark Martin. Rusty Wallace also tries to pass Mark, and he does. Here comes Harry Gant.
But he can't make the pass that time, but maybe he will now. He tries to pull on the inside. Martin's car goes a little high. Gant gets the nose up along, now completely around, and there he goes.
Once you get that nose underneath somebody and you're an equal car, you can pretty much move right around because of the groove.
Well, you can tell Harry Gant's really driving a smart race, though. He's led a lot of laps, and his car is capable, but he just kind of rides and waits for his turn.
I was going to mention that Sachs and Bodine, first and second here, are veterans of the NASCAR Modified Tour, the Northeast Modifieds, and we'll be seeing them on ESPN in a couple of weeks at Martinsville, one of the first times that we will televise a tour race. Now the number 30 car of Michael Waltrip is just all over Chip, but there's another instance.
Yeah, has bumped him several times, and Jeff is having to drive defensively as well as offensively. He's trying to move around Greg Sachs, but he's trying to keep Michael Waltrip behind him. Now look at the 30 car come in here this time, taps him on the left rear there, gets a little bit out of shape, and you can imagine that Jeff Bodine running in second place trying to take the lead is getting a little bit frustrated there, but Michael Waltrip has a car that's probably faster than either one of those in front of him. He just wants to get his lap back. That's all he wants.
Well, that car of Greg Sachs has gotten real wide here recently. It's really stacked up the traffic behind him, and everybody's getting a little anxious. We'll have to watch and see. It's going to be interesting the next 4 or 5 laps right here.
50 laps to go. The leader is Greg Sachs. Second is Jeff Bodine. Beginning to work on Michael Waltrip. Remember, Waltrip is not on the lead lap. The number 9 car of Bill Elliott is, and the 84 also in line there. Dick Trickle, he is in 4th position. We'll be back with more of our live coverage after this. And yet another caution has come out over Bristol International Raceway, and there you can see the race to the pits. Jeff Bodine ducks his car in, so does Michael Waltrip and Rusty Wallace. Here's Jerry Punch in the Bodine pit.
Jeff Bodine coming in to get 4 fresh Hoosier tires. They work on the right side of the car. Waddell Wilson, Russell Levi, Garrett Crew with the right side rubbers on, and Bill Elliott pulling it around Bodine. And we'll come around and get the left side tires on the Jeff Bodine pits. Let's go to the back pits and Benny Parsons. Benny?
I'm in the Greg Sachs pit. They're changing the right side. The left lug nuts are coming off. The right side is down. The jack comes around, and the left side going up. And these guys are hustling. This means victory or not. They pick up the wrench. They grab it. The left side, and Jerry punches the Bill Elliott pit.
Bill Elliott goes back down pit road and got a 4-tire change. They put 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles on that car. He is now down and away, but he had come down pit road because he had drifted up very high. But when the pace car didn't pick up the field, he had to go scooting back out on the racetrack to try to keep from losing a lap here in the pits.
That is indeed what happened. Now, the reason we are under caution is because Harry Gant spun coming off of corner number 2. Did a half spin, as a matter of fact. It created a caution, but no damage to Harry. Here's how it occurred.
Well, Bill Elliott, something had happened. He had gone high on the track. Harry tried to turn left and get down under him, but Larry Pearson was there, and so Harry just spun it around. He didn't hit anything, so he has caught up to the field. He's back in the pack. Everybody has on fresh tires now, and so we're ready to go racing again, and Rusty Wallace up front. Here we can see Bill Elliott going high. Gant tried to cut down under him to keep from hitting him, and it just simply the back end got out from under him.
Well, all right. What a break, tough break for Greg Sachs. Every caution that's up to this point, Greg Sachs pits on the backstretch, comes out as the leader. This time the pace car was late coming out. Sachs had to make an extra lap, and he lost the lead.
The green flag is back out, and the leader of the race is Rusty Wallace. Second belongs to Jeff Bodine and Darrell Waltrip, the joker from our tease, who said he was going to be in there challenging the dynamic duo, is in third. Here we are once again in Michael Waltrip's car as he's behind Sterling Marlin, trying to go to the inside of Sterling in turn number 1. Marlin gets caught on the outside. Bodine passing. So is Darrell Waltrip.
Of course, Marlin several laps down as a result of that miscommunications earlier. Rusty Wallace running on Goodyear tires. Jeff Bodine running on Hoosier tires. That's the first and second place cars.
Where has Darrell Waltrip been all day? I don't think we've talked about him at all, but here he finds himself in third spot as the lead is now held by Rusty Wallace.
He has just stayed there in the lead lap. Has never been a threat to go a lap down. Just sit there and run, but haven't seen much of him. Maybe we will the rest of the way with about 38 laps to go.
Darrell's been driving a smart race. His car probably is in the best shape as far as the body damage of any of them out there. If you look at it, just a couple tire marks on the passenger side door right there.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't look nearly as battle scarred as some of the other cars out here. And you heard him say at the beginning of the show that he was going to be right there. And indeed he is. Darrell Waltrip, winner of this year's Daytona 500. As a matter of fact, he's won 2 races on the Winston Cup Tour this year. Despite the fact that he has won 2 races, he is 7th in the points, 130 behind Alan Kulwicki when we went into today's race.
Rusty Wallace hasn't led for a while. Now he's up front pulling away a little bit. Maybe he's been holding back just a little bit also. 35 laps to go. He's got a pretty good lead there on Jeff Bodine, and with Mike Waltrip in the middle running as strong as he is, Jeff Bodine's got to race Mike Waltrip to catch the lead.
And here's some bumper tag being played by the 88 car of Greg Sachs and the 16 of Larry Pearson as they are fighting for 8th position. And also right there is Bill Elliott at number 9 and 31 of Jim Sauter now back in 11th position. And Harry Gant is in 12th spot, and he is the final car now on the lead lap.
Of course, as Gary Nelson mentioned, those that are pitting on the backstretch, it worked to their disadvantage on this caution because the pace car didn't get out in front of them as early as they did in other caution periods. And so that's why we see Jim Sauter and Greg Sachs so far back. Harry Gant was back because he was the guy that brought out the caution and had to catch up to the field before he could come into the pits, but he's beginning to move now.
Scramble there in turn 3 was to pass below the 21 car of Neil Bonnet. Now we see Sauter putting some pressure on the 9 car of Elliott as 21 Neil Bonnet is running in 15th position. He is a lap down to the field.
Well, Jeff Bodine has caught up to Michael Waltrip trying to get around him. He had picked up a little bit of distance on Rusty Wallace, but now he has Michael Waltrip to deal with, but he's not going to deal with him long. He's going to move right on around him. So nothing but daylight between Jeff Bodine and Rusty Wallace. We'll see. He was about 1 second behind Rusty Wallace the last time around, so we'll see now that he's out of that traffic if he is able to run it down.
We have 30 laps to go in this race, and literally any one of about 6 cars can win this race. Rusty Wallace is showing the way right now with the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine being shown in second. There's the leader, Rusty Wallace. And he, remember, went into this race not feeling all that well. Yesterday, he went to his hotel room after suffering an inner ear infection. And today he came to the racetrack saying, yeah, I think I can go the distance. Well, you know that that problem that was bothering him probably isn't mattering at all right now to Rusty Wallace because he is in the lead and we are less than 30 laps from the end of this contest. So we're going to take another break and be back with more live coverage of the Winston Cup race from Bristol International Raceway. It's springtime in Bristol, Tennessee, and that can only mean one thing, an appearance by the NASCAR Grand National Tour. Defending Grand National champion Richard Petty and his familiar number 43 gets the early jump at the start of the Southeastern 500. But Petty has his hands full fighting off the challenges of number 17 David Pearson and 71 Bobby Isaac. Missing in 68 are the 36-degree bank turns that can start multi-car pileups. Bobby Allison tries to get things rolling, but miraculously everyone else avoids him. Here's a new pit strategy: lose the wheel before coming into the pits. Just less work for the tire changer. A much younger Cale Yarborough running for the Wood Brothers feels the bite of Bristol. Fortunately, the damage is minimal and he's on his way again. As always at Bristol, it's wheel-to-wheel action as King Richard tries to chase down Pearson. Isaac also gets into the thick of the battle that would continue between the 3 warriors right down to the national title. Now, does this look familiar? King Richard riding the rim, something he still does to perfection some 20 years later. Pearson wins here at Bristol and goes on to capture the Grand National Championship over Isaac and Petty. And Of course, Richard Petty was not in the field for today's Valleydale 500. We are under caution. In fact, we have had 2 cautions since you saw us last. Greg Sack spun down in turn number 4, and now this incident, it involved Michael Waltrip in turn number 2.
He was running right in front of his brother Darrell Waltrip and spins to the outside of the track, almost where he spun earlier in the race. We'll look at it at another angle. Darrell is right behind him. Did he spin him? Did he hit him?
Ooh, I don't know.
I believe he did. I believe he touched him and spun him around and said, brother, I got to go. I'm fighting for the lead here.
The Joker's coming through.
That's right. And then after Michael spun, as they came down for the caution flag, the 16 of Larry Pearson got sideways in turn number 4. So we have had 20 caution periods during this race. And as I have said more times than once, a record number of caution periods during this race in all of Winston Cup racing. Look at this. We've only got 19 laps to go. And the lead is being held by Rusty Wallace, with Jeff Bodine second and Darrell Waltrip in third spot. They're checking over the track for any debris or oil that might be on it. So we'll be under caution for maybe a couple of more laps. There you can see the safety vehicle on the high side of turn number 3 as the pace car and the field passes underneath.
On each restart, Rusty Wallace has been able to get a good jump and has pulled out about a second or a little over ahead of Jeff Bodine. I expect Bodine will be a little bit more ready for it this time.
It's a tough thing for the crew chiefs late in the race. If your car's up front, you know you can run faster with new tires, especially like, say, if you were in the 5th place, 6th place, 7th place car. Maybe it would be a good idea to come in and get those tires with only 10 cars in a lead lap. Maybe somebody behind you will follow you in, and then you can come back out in 10th place and maybe be able to make it up.
For those of you joining ESPN in hopes of seeing tennis, we will have it right after the completion of this race. And we are only 18 laps from the finish, so it isn't going to be long. Once we go back to green, we'll have the tennis for you right after our live telecast of the Valleydale 500. Well, Bristol, Tennessee, one of 14 venues that we travel to during our coverage of Winston Cup races during the 1989 season. Let's take you beyond the gates of Bristol International Raceway to show you what else there is to see in this area. First of all, we're located in northeastern Tennessee near the Virginia line and companion cities Johnson City and Kingsport. Benny's Hat of the Week reflects one of the major industries.
Beyond the gates at Bristol International Raceway, we see the old log cabin, typical of this area 200 years ago. Something that's typical of this area right now is coal mines. And last week I told you I was going to wear a hat typical of the area. Doug Wagner of Pittsburgh sent me a coal miner's hat, a fireman's coal miner hat. Doug, thank you very much. And all you other people that sent hats, thank you. This hat will also be auctioned off at the Richmond County Hospital Celebrity Auction June the 3rd in Rockingham, North Carolina. So all you people in the Sandhills, go bid, will you?
Benny, the word serene seems to fit the area surrounding this track. The gentle rolling hills provide pasture for farmers and their cattle. South of the racetrack is the Boone Dam, yes, named for Daniel, that was built by the TVA in the late 50s to provide power and control flooding in the Tri-Cities. The lake itself is about 150 feet deep at its deepest point and provides recreation to the residents. Those rolling hills that I spoke of earlier, well, within sight of the grandstand spectators is a beautiful horse farm. The 1/2 mile racetrack is part of a larger racing complex. It also includes the drag strip, built between 2 mountains. It's widely known as Thunder Valley. Now, if you would like to send that to Benny Parsons, the address is 112 Main Street in Ellerby, North Carolina. The zip code is 28338. If your hat of the week could be chosen as the one that Benny wears on the air, in any case, the sale of these hats will go to charity. Back with more right after this. The green flag is back out, and there are 10 laps of racing left, and a real battle up front for the lead involves Rusty Wallace in number 27 and Jeff Bodine in number 5. 9 laps to go, running in 3rd place, sitting behind these two. You can see the interval between 2nd and 3rd. That's Darrell Waltrip.
And Wallace's car has been a little bit loose the last couple of laps. Bodine has been trying to get around it, but Wallace trying to hold the inside of the racetrack, not giving Jeff any room to run down on the inside, as Jim Sauter, who has had a good run today, makes an unscheduled pit stop on the backstretch as we watch this battle for the lead.
Here comes Waltrip sneaking up on second place. Bodine going to make a 3-car battle for the lead here within the next few laps. We've completed 493, less than 7 laps to go.
Boy, Jeff's been in this position. Last year only it was Bill Elliott leading, Jeff second with just a few laps to go.
Rusty Wallace looking for win number 3 in the 1989 season. Can he protect his position and hold off the challenges of Bodine and Darrell Waltrip? We'll know in 5 more laps. Here's the completion of lap 495. And the number 6 and the number 84 car play a little bumper tag last lap in turn 1. Dick Trickle and Mark Martin slugging it out. A couple of ASA veterans in Winston Cup racing trading paint. Now Waltrip on the back bumper of the Jeff Bodine car. Here's Darrell moving to the inside. He's going to take second from Jeff Bodine. Waltrip is going to the front. Now he has his sights set on the leader, Rusty Wallace, but does he have enough time? 497 laps completed. We've got 3 more to go, and Rusty Wallace is going to run into some slower traffic. He has Rick Mast and Terry Labonte ahead of him. He'll dispose of Rick Mast easily going down the backstretch. Now they move into turn number 3 and 4. Waltrip will pass on the high side of Rick Mast. And Terry Labonte will move to the inside, coming down the straightaway and let the leaders go. Now there's quite a bit of separation between first and second as there are less than 2 laps to go now. Rusty Wallace stretching it out a little bit. Here comes Darrell Waltrip fighting back. They'll come down this time for the white lap. Rusty Wallace leads with 1 more lap to go. Darrell Waltrip trying to wrestle the lead from him. He sneaks up on Rusty Wallace, but it appears as if Rusty may have enough to go the distance. Into turn number 3, here they come for the checkered flag. It's going to be Rusty Wallace winning the Valleydale 500. Darrell Waltrip finishes in second position. Jeff Bodine is going to hold on to third. Oh, it was a tight battle between Jeff Bodine and Dick Trickle and the 28 car of Davey Allison.
It was a photo finish between Allison and the 84 car. 28 might have had it. That would be Davey Allison. Might have had the 84 car of Dick Trickle by just inches as it came across the start-finish line.
Here is a replay of the finish and the scramble for that 3rd spot. Bodine in 5, Trickle high in 84, and Davey in 28.
We understand that the 5 car has a tire going flat, and here they come across the start-finish line. Bodine beats them back, but boy, that other battle for the 4th and 5th positions very, very close. We understand that at the moment that Davey Allison has been given the nod for the position.
Well, Bodine and Allison slugged it out last week for a finishing position, and they do the same thing here this weekend at Bristol. But Rusty Wallace has won his 3rd race of the 1989 season. He was the winner of the 1986 Valleydale 500 here in Bristol. He registered, in fact, his first Winston Cup win. Let's go to Benny Parsons.
Hey, Dodson, did you believe this is going to happen?
Well, we believe. We never give up. We always believe. You know, we had a little misfortune with Rusty getting sick. He was a little bit dizzy. It doesn't bother him. He's always a little dizzy. And wrecked the car yesterday trying to see how he did feel. And I told some guys last night, this team works off of adversity. And it doesn't bother us. We just keep digging and never give up. I got to thank Kodiak. Got to thank Goodyear. Goodyear tire was good enough we could stay out. The thing was consistent, and it won the race for us.
Barry, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Benny.
And we will be back to talk with Rusty Wallace in Victory Lane in just a minute. We'll take another break and be right back. Rusty Wallace wins the Valleydale 500. Let's go down to Victory Lane, where Jerry Punch will do our Sears Die Hard Winner Circle interview, being brought to you by America's best-selling replacement battery, the Sears Die Hard. Jerry?
And believe me, this guy would not die hard at all. All weekend he's been sick. He's been fighting that flu and the inner ear infection. Congratulations, Rusty Wallace.
Well, thank you, Jerry. I just like to, first of all, I'd like to thank you. You helped me out a lot, and all the viewers watching. You know, I was a 6 son of a gun last night, and Jerry gave me some medicine, got me going, and it sure got me up right for today, and I really like to thank him. I'd like to thank Kodiak, Mobile One, AC Spark Plugs, Pontiac Motor Division, and Goodyear Tires. They come through for us, and everything was great.
Darrell Waltrip made it a tight one at the end.
Well, he did make it a tight one. My car wasn't exactly right, but it was close enough to win the race. And, you know, when I win races, it seems like that's the way it is. It's either real bad fast or a little bit off, but I'll take it. That's 3 wins out of the top 5. We're gunning for them. We want the championship.
One tough customer. What else can you say? The Kodiak Pontiac in victory lane, winning the Valleydale 500, coming back from adversity all weekend, Rusty Wallace. Bob?
All right, and quickly reviewing the top 10 finishers. Rusty Wallace wins, Waltrip second, Bodine third, Davey Allison fourth, and Dick Trickle in fifth position. 6 through 10 in the Valleydale 500. Martin, Sachs, Rudd, Elliott, and Harry Gant. Don't forget, we'll be live at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina next weekend for more Winston Cup racing. We hope you will be with us then. For now, for Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Jerry Punch, and Benny Parsons, this is Bob Jenkins. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.